You are the painter of your own destiny, and every stroke you make is a new possibility that emerges from the blank canvas of your life. This ancient, almost forgotten book holds the secrets of the universe's numerical language. Each page is an invitation to discover the power you hold within, a key to remembering that destiny is not written in the stars, but in the choices you make every day. Here, numbers are revealed as guides, helping you find answers and see hidden opportunities behind every circumstance. Don't wait for the perfect moment, because this moment is now. This book is not just a source of knowledge. It's a dialogue with the cosmos, a tool that invites you to create your own reality by tracing your destiny with every decision and thought. Listen with an open heart, because these pages receive the wisdom of the universe, waiting to be revealed by you. The Secret Language of the Universe, Numerology and Synchronicities. Author, unknown. Prologue, The Secret Language of the Universe have. You ever felt that there is something more beyond what we can see and touch? Since time immemorial, human beings have sought to understand the world around them. We have looked at the sky, counted the stars, trying to decipher the mysteries of the universe. In that search, we have encountered a subtle language, one that doesn't need words but has always been present: numbers. Throughout civilizations, numbers have been much more than simple tools for counting or measuring. They have been carriers of profound messages, sacred symbols that, when interpreted correctly, reveal hidden truths about our lives, our purpose, and our connection with the cosmos. This book is an invitation to immerse yourself in the mysterious and fascinating world of numbers. It is not a mathematical treatise, although numbers are its heart. It is a spiritual journey, an exploration of how numerical vibrations influence our lives and how numbers are the key to understanding the synchronicities we experience, the doors that open, and the paths we choose to walk. Numbers speak to us even when we are not conscious of it. From the 111 that appears on the clock to the house number that seems to follow us wherever we go, the universe uses numbers to send us signals, to guide us and remind us that we are connected to something greater. This book will take you on a journey through those messages, revealing the meaning of mirror numbers, master numbers, and how numerical sequences are much more than a coincidence. They are reflections of our consciousness and the energies we attract into our daily lives. Numerology, the ancient science that studies the deep meanings behind numbers, is a door to understanding our own being. Through the chapters of this book, you will discover that numbers have a vibration, a frequency that resonates with the energy of our experiences, our thoughts, and our emotions. Each number is a key, a guide that helps us understand the purpose of our circumstances and how we can align ourselves with the natural flow of the universe. This book is for you if you have ever wondered why certain numbers seem to follow you, or if you have felt that there is something more behind the synchronicities that occur in your life. It is for those who seek answers beyond the visible, those who wish to connect with the hidden language of the cosmos and unlock the power found in numerical patterns. As you delve into these pages, you will realize that numbers are not only on clocks, dates, or in the figures of your daily life. They are in every experience you live, in every thought you project, and in every dream you have. They are the guardians of a profound knowledge, one that has been present in all eras and that you are now about to rediscover. This prologue is just the beginning of a fascinating journey, a journey in which you will discover that numbers not only count time, but reveal the cycles of your life, the key moments for growth, and the transformations that await you. This book will take you beyond the known to a deeper understanding of your connection with the universe and how numbers are the signals that guide you on your path to spiritual awakening. Prepare to open your eyes to a world full of magic, where every number has a purpose, every sequence a meaning, and every synchronicity a message waiting to be heard. Welcome to the secret language of the universe, May the numbers guide you to a greater understanding of your being and your place in the great cosmic tapestry. This is your call to awaken. Chapter 1. The Origin of the Cosmos. Mysteries of Eternal Creation. How did it all begin? That is the question that has resonated in the human heart since time immemorial. I'm not just talking about the vast cosmos out there with its stars and galaxies. I'm talking about the cosmos that each of us carries within, that spark that once felt a call to something greater. I also asked myself that question many times, seeking answers not in books, but in the deepest experiences of my life. On silent nights when the world seemed to stop, I felt that the answer was not so far away. The universe did not begin with an explosion or a deafening sound. No, the universe was born from the whisper of the soul, from a deep desire to exist, to create. I felt as if I myself had been there, witnessing the birth of life in the midst of darkness, like a silent witness. Have you ever felt in the midst of chaos the feeling that everything is about to change? That's how the origin of everything was. A darkness so profound that it could not be understood with the mind, but in its center, a spark, a small flash of light. That flash was the universe's first question. Who am I? The desire to know who we are is what connects us to that first spark. Every time we ask ourselves why we are here, every time we feel there is something more waiting for us, we get closer to that moment of creation, because creation is not something that happened once, eons ago. Creation continues to happen in every breath, in every heartbeat. We are creating now. In my life, I have felt that call many times. And the most surprising thing is that the answers do not always come in clear or defined words. Sometimes they come in the form of a person who speaks to you at just the right moment, sometimes in dreams, in small flashes of intuition. How have the answers come to you? Maybe you don't know yet, but I assure you, they are there, in the midst of the silence. The universe was also a place of silence at the beginning, a vast ocean of stillness that held all possibilities. Imagine for a moment. Close your eyes if you wish. A space immense, but not empty, as we understand it. This emptiness was fertile, full of potential, ready to give birth to everything we know. And what we know is only a small part of what is to come. Then, the first vibration arose, a gentle movement that broke the stillness. That vibration was what started everything. Think about the times your life has been stuck, on pause, as if nothing was happening. And what happens just before everything changes? A small movement, a decision, a thought. Something insignificant, perhaps, but that changes everything. That's how the cosmos began. The first vibration is the symbol of awakening. Sometimes we are not aware of how long we have been asleep until something awakens us. And that awakening can be gentle, but its impact is immense. It changes the course of everything, just as the first movement of the universe created time, space, life itself. Why are we here? This is the question that inevitably arises after talking about the origin of the cosmos. What does this vast universe have to do with our daily lives? What I want to tell you is that we are here because we are part of that same creative impulse. We are the echo of that first whisper. We are not separate from the universe. We are its continuation. Every time you choose to change something in your life, you are imitating that first act of creation. When you decide to love, when you decide to forgive, when you decide to try something new, you are creating, just as the cosmos created the stars and planets. I remember once, in a moment of deep uncertainty in my life, I wondered if the universe really had a plan, if my existence had a greater purpose. And the answer did not come immediately. It took me time to realize that purpose is not something the universe gives you. It's something you create. It is the same principle that governs cosmic creation. The cosmos speaks to us through our daily decisions. In the vastness of the universe, your choices, your thoughts, your energy matter. Each of us is a spark of that first creative fire, and every action we take either fuels or extinguishes that flame. So I invite you to think, what are you creating today? Are you aware of the power you have to change your life, your environment? The cosmos is not just a distant place in the sky. The cosmos lives in you, waiting to be awakened with every act of love, courage, and creation. And then, how does the story continue? Creation did not end with the birth of the stars. It continues with every decision you make, with every thought that arises in your mind. The mystery of the cosmos is also the mystery of your own life, and although the universe is vast and sometimes incomprehensible, you and I and each one of us are the sparks that keep its story alive. The origin of the cosmos is not just something that happened in the past. It is something that happens at this very moment in your life, in my life, in every breath we take. Creation is eternal, and you are part of its mystery. Chapter 2. The Cosmic Duality, Opposing Forces in Human Existence. Have you ever felt that two opposing forces live inside you? I have felt it too. It's as if two different currents are flowing inside me, fighting to define me. One part of me wants to move forward, to grow, to experience life in all its fullness. The other feels trapped, fearful, seeking security in stillness. And in that constant pull, I have realized that this struggle is not just mine. It is the very essence of the universe. Duality is the heart of the cosmos. From the moment the first vibration broke the silence, two opposing forces were created: light and darkness, chaos and order, life and death. These forces are not enemies but parts of a whole. Light cannot exist without darkness, and just as day gives way to night, our own existence is made of contrasts. I remember a particular day, one afternoon when I felt that everything was falling apart around me. I had lost something important, or so I thought. But it was in that loss that I found a new part of myself. The light I had always sought did not come from success or recognition, but from accepting the darkness that lived within me. Has something similar happened to you? Sometimes the deepest lessons come in the darkest moments, when we least expect them. Cosmic duality also lives in our emotions. Why do we feel joy and sadness? Why can we be full of hope one day and dejected the next? It is because we are a reflection of those opposing cosmic forces. We cannot know peace without having felt chaos. We cannot appreciate the light without having walked in the shadow. Why do I feel this struggle inside me is a question I ask myself many times. Sometimes we want clear, easy answers, but life doesn't always work that way. The answer is in acceptance. Accepting that these two forces live within us is the first step to finding balance. In the universe, everything is in motion. Stars are born and die. Planets revolve in orbits, always in motion, always changing. Nothing remains static. The same thing happens to us. There are days when we feel we are in perfect harmony with the world, where light seems to embrace us, and other days when internal chaos seems to consume everything. But it is in that flow between light and darkness, between advancement and pause, that we find our true essence. How do we handle that duality in our daily lives? Think about the decisions you make every day. Each choice is an act of balance between these two forces. Do you move toward something that inspires you, or do you stay in the comfort of the known? I have learned that there is no single right answer, but moments when we must move forward bravely into the unknown, and others when we must stop, breathe, and find peace in the stillness. Once, in a moment of confusion, I wondered if I should follow the impulse to do something new or stay where I felt safe. Life always presents us with those crossroads, doesn't it? In the end, it is not so much the decision itself that matters, but how we make it. Both forces, that of fear and that of courage, that of chaos and that of order, are necessary. It is as if the universe, in its infinite wisdom, had endowed us with an internal compass that guides us between these two extremes. There are days when I let myself be carried away by the current of light, feeling that I can conquer any challenge. But there are also days when I surrender to the darkness, and not in a negative sense, but as a space of refuge, of renewal. Why is it so difficult to find balance? That is the question I often ask myself. The truth is that balance is not a permanent state. It is not something that is reached and held forever. Balance is movement. It is constant change. Just as the sun and moon succeed each other in the sky, we also move between these opposing poles. And that's okay. The trick, if there is one, is to learn to navigate between these forces with grace, to accept that there will be days when we feel completely at peace and others when the internal mind shakes us. But in both cases, we are part of something bigger, of a cosmic dance that has been going on since the beginning of time. Duality also teaches us about love and fear. Both coexist within us. We cannot love fully if we have not felt the fear of losing what we love. How many times has fear stopped us? And how many times, despite fear, have we moved forward anyway? That is the bravest act of all. To walk toward the light even knowing that darkness will always be present. I remember a conversation I had with someone close to me who asked why I always seemed at peace, even in the most difficult moments. And my answer was simple. I am not always at peace, but I have learned to accept both parts of myself. I have learned to dance with the light and the darkness. And that, I believe, is one of the greatest lessons the cosmos teaches us. How do we apply this in our daily lives? In the small things, in how we respond to anger or frustration, in how we handle love and fear, in how we make decisions knowing that no decision is perfect, but each one is a step toward our growth. Duality is not something we must defeat. It is something we must embrace. Because in the end, the universe is not at war with itself. It is the perfect harmony of opposing forces. And so are we. We are not destined to be at peace all the time, nor to be constantly swept away by the storm. We are destined to learn, to grow, to evolve, moving with the waves of these forces that live inside and outside of us. And just like the cosmos, we are also infinite. Within us lives the spark of creation and the stillness of the void. We are light and darkness. We are order and chaos. And in that duality, we find our humanity and our connection with the whole. Chapter 3. The Power of the E. Name, vibrations that define. Destiny. Have you ever thought about the power your name holds? I'm not just referring to the sound it makes when someone pronounces it. I'm talking about the energy, the vibration that surrounds it. Your name, mine, each of ours carries a vibrational charge that defines who we are, what we attract, and what we are destined to be. From the moment we receive our name, we begin to resonate with a unique energy. I have felt it in my life, as if each letter were intertwined with my destiny, as if my name spoke for me before I did. Is it possible for a simple name to have so much power? That's the question many people have asked me. And the answer is always the same. Yes. A name is not just a label. It's a vibrational manifestation of who we are. Every sound we emit creates a vibration, and that vibration interacts with the universe. Have you ever wondered how certain people seem to attract certain energies or experiences over and over again? Their name is a key, a door to their destiny. Remember a moment in my life when I felt that everything around me was stagnant. I had been struggling to move forward, to find my path, but something seemed to be holding me back. Then someone told me, "Look at your name. Listen to how it vibrates." At first, I didn't understand it. But then, little by little, I began to notice something. Every time someone pronounced my name, I felt a specific way, as if the very sound of those letters was impacting my energy. A name is not just a set of letters, it's a story in itself, a melody we play and others hear. Each letter vibrates at a specific frequency, and when those letters come together, they create a unique chord, a vibration that defines us. What does your name say about you? I asked myself that too, and what I discovered changed my life. How can something as ordinary as a name affect our destiny? It's not the name itself, but what it represents. Each sound has a vibration, and those vibrations resonate with different aspects of the universe. Your name, the way you say it, even the way you feel when you hear it. Everything is connected to what you attract into your life. For example, have you ever noticed that certain people with specific names seem to attract the same situations over and over? It's no coincidence. The name acts as a vibrational magnet. I experienced it myself. For years, my name was a reflection of my fears, my doubts, and the limitations I had imposed on myself. But when I began to pay attention to how it resonated within me, something changed. I began to see my name not as a simple word, but as an echo of my energy. And by doing so, something profound began to move in my life. The way people perceived me changed. Opportunities began to appear, and my energy transformed. What happens when you change your name or the way you use it? Sometimes we feel that the name we were born with no longer resonates with who we are. This happened to me, and I know it can happen to many people. It's as if our internal vibration changes, but our name doesn't reflect it. Changing the way we present ourselves to the world, even changing a small aspect of our name, can adjust our energy. I did it. I didn't completely change my name, but I modified the way I pronounced it, how I wrote it, how I connected with it. And that small modification had a profound impact. Suddenly, doors that seemed closed opened. A name is like a key that can unlock our potential when it finds the right vibration. How can you know if your name is aligned with your purpose? The first step is to listen. Listen to how your name sounds in the mouths of others, how it resonates in you. Do you feel at peace? Do you feel inspired? Or is there something that makes you uncomfortable? Something that seems out of tune with who you really are? This was one of the first questions I asked myself, and the answer was not always easy to accept. Sometimes our name, as we use it, is not in tune with the person we are destined to become. But here's the truth. We can always change. It is not always necessary to modify the name itself, but we can change the way we live it, the energy we charge it with. If your name no longer resonates with your purpose, ask yourself, how can I make it mine again? I did it. And every day, I strive to vibrate in tune with the name I carry, giving it a new meaning, a new strength. Your name is a reflection of your essence, a powerful tool that can guide you to what you are destined to be. It doesn't matter if you have carried it all your life or if you decide to modify it. The important thing is that your name is part of your personal vibration, and when that vibration is aligned with your deepest self, it becomes a beacon, attracting to you what has always been yours. Destiny is not something that simply happens. Destiny is something we create, and our name is a tool in that creation. When I began to understand this, my life changed, and I know yours can change too. Simply by listening to the melody your name plays in the universe. What vibration do you carry with you? That is the question I invite you to ask yourself, because your name is more than a sound. It's an echo of the universe, a call to destiny, and a vibration that can change everything. Chapter 4. The Cycles of Time. Lost Civilizations and the Eternal Return. Have you ever felt that history repeats itself? I'm not just referring to the events we see in books or in the news, but in life itself. There are moments when it seems like we are reliving the same patterns, the same decisions, as if time were not linear, but cyclical. I have felt it many times, and the truth is that time is not a straight line. Time is a cycle that takes us back to where we started, only to offer us the opportunity to learn something new each time. Ancient civilizations knew this. The ancient peoples, those civilizations we now consider lost, understood the power of cycles. They knew that life and history are not simply a series of isolated events, but are intertwined in an eternal dance, a constant return to the same points, but each time with a new perspective. It is as if the universe gives us infinite opportunities to learn the lessons we failed to understand before. I remember the first time I really felt that cycle in my life. There was a decision I had to make, a choice that seemed insignificant at the time. However, looking back, I realized that it was the same choice I had faced before, but in a different form. I realized that life was giving me a second chance, a new version of an old story, so that this time I could do it differently. Why does history repeat itself? We ask ourselves this question when we feel we are trapped in the same mistakes or patterns. But repetition is not a punishment, it's a gift. Each cycle gives us the opportunity to correct our course, to learn from our past experiences, and to evolve. Lost civilizations, like the legends of Atlantis or Lemuria, are more than myths. They are reminders of the cycles of time, of how even great empires and cultures flourished and fell, only to be reborn in some way, in some other place. What does this have to do with our daily lives? A lot. We often don't recognize that our lives are full of cycles, relationships that begin and end only to reappear in a different form, decisions that we thought we had overcome, but that resurface in new scenarios. Life gives us repeated lessons, but each time with a new disguise. It is as if the universe wants to make sure we have truly learned before moving on to the next level. I have experienced it in my own relationships, in my own projects. I have seen how the same challenges reappear again and again until I finally face them with the courage and wisdom I lacked before. Has it happened to you? Think about those moments in your life when you have said to yourself, "I've been through this before." It may be that the universe is repeating that lesson, not to punish you, but to give you the opportunity to overcome it. Cycles are not chains that tie us to the past. They are bridges that connect us to our future. Every time a cycle returns, to you, it's a new possibility to break patterns, to create something different. The lost civilizations did not simply disappear because they failed. They disappeared to transform themselves, to give way to something new. And the same thing happens in our lives. What do lost civilizations teach us? They teach us that nothing is truly lost. It only transforms. The cities, the cultures, the great empires that once dominated the earth did not disappear into oblivion. Their teachings, their wisdom, their essence live in us. Maybe we don't remember their names or the details of their lives, but their cycles continue to move through us. What was will be again, but in a new form. Think about those moments in history that seem to have repeated themselves, as if the lessons had not been fully learned. Just as great civilizations fell for not paying attention to the signs of their time, we also face downfalls when we do not listen to the signals the universe sends us. But there is always an opportunity to be reborn. How can we break the cycles that no longer serve us? That is the real question, because not all cycles are positive. There are patterns in our lives that seem to keep us trapped, repeating the same mistakes over and over again. The key to breaking these cycles is awareness. We must realize that we are in a cycle, observe it from a distance, and then do something different. That is what the lost civilizations never managed to do, change when necessary. I remember a cycle in my life that kept me trapped for years. I always found myself in the same situation, with the same challenges, but I couldn't understand why. Then one day, I decided to stop and look closely. It was then that I realized that the key to breaking the cycle was not in the external circumstances, but in me. I had to do something different, think in a new way, act with a new energy. And when I did, the cycle broke and a new life began for me. The cycles of time are silent teachers. They patiently teach us, waiting for us to be ready to listen. They show us the same lessons over and over again until we finally understand. The universe is not in a hurry, and neither should we be. Every cycle we live is an opportunity to grow, to evolve, to be better. Lost civilizations are reminders that even the greatest and most powerful can fall if they do not pay attention to the cycles. But they are also proof that life, knowledge, and wisdom are never truly lost. They only transform. They only find new ways of manifesting themselves. And in our lives, cycles invite us to do the same. With each return, they offer us the opportunity to be reborn, to recreate ourselves, to be the best version of ourselves. So the next time you feel that life is repeating something to you, ask yourself, what can I do differently this time? Because the cycle may repeat itself, but your response doesn't have to be the same. And in that choice, in that awareness, you will find your power. You will find a way to break with the old and welcome the new, as the civilizations before us did, as the world will do again and again. Chapter 5. The Path of the Soul. Numerology and Reincarnation. Who are we really? That question has always resonated in the depths of my being. From a young age, I felt that there was something more behind the simple labels we assign ourselves in life: a name, an occupation, a history. I felt that my soul carried something more with it, something that transcended this life. Have you ever felt that way? As if there were a memory within you, a connection to something greater, something that doesn't end in this life? That feeling, that whisper, led me to discover numerology and the mystery of reincarnation. The soul is like a tireless traveler, moving through time, carrying with it the lessons and experiences of past lives. Each life is a chapter in a much bigger book, a story that doesn't end when we leave this body. Who we are today is shaped by who we were before, and who we will be tomorrow depends on what we learn now. How many times have we walked this path? Numerology has the answer. What does numerology have to do with the soul? Numerology is not just a science of numbers. It's a secret language that reveals the purpose and journey of our soul. Each number vibrates with a unique energy, and that energy is connected to the path our soul has traveled. When we are born, our name and date of birth are not coincidences. They are reflections of the destiny we have come to live in this existence. They are here to guide us, but they will never impose their will. They give us the freedom to choose because they know that every choice, every experience is part of our growth. They invite us to trust the process, to remember that we are not walking alone, even if it sometimes seems that way. They teach us that true wisdom is not about knowing all the answers, but about having the courage to ask the right questions. And so, each of us has our own group of invisible masters, those who walk with us, who guide us from the other side of the veil. They are our companions on the soul's journey, and although we cannot see them, we can feel their presence in every step we take. They are here now, whispering in the wind, shining in the sun, waiting for us to remember who we are. Chapter 7. The Science of Vibration. How Frequencies Shape Reality. Have you ever felt that the energy around you changes for no apparent reason? I've felt it too. It's as if the atmosphere around us fluctuates, affecting our mood, our emotions, and even our decisions. Everything around us vibrates, and although we don't always notice it, these vibrations shape the reality we live. At first, I found it difficult to understand how something so invisible, so intangible as a vibration could influence my life so much. But over time, I realized that vibration not only affects our environment, it is the foundation of everything that exists. The universe is sound. Every atom, every particle, even every thought vibrates at a unique frequency. And these frequencies create our reality, as if we were instruments in a cosmic orchestra where each of us plays a different but essential note. Have you ever wondered why certain people or places make you feel a special way? It's no coincidence. It's the science of vibration in action. What is vibration, and how does it affect our daily lives? In simple terms, vibration is the rhythm at which something moves. But it is much more than that. It is the essence of energy. It is what connects everything in the universe. Every object, thought, and emotion has its own vibrational frequency. Some are high, like joy and love, and others are lower, like fear or sadness. What many people don't know is that we ourselves are like antennas, constantly tuned to the vibrations around us. I remember a time in my life when everything seemed to be going wrong. I felt trapped in a spiral of negative thoughts, as if I couldn't escape a dark cloud that enveloped me. It was then that someone told me about vibration. They told me that what I was feeling was not just the result of my circumstances, but of the frequency I was vibrating at. My emotions and thoughts were sending a signal to the universe, and that signal was shaping my reality. How can we change our vibration? The good news is that we are not trapped in a frequency forever. Vibration is dynamic. It flows, it changes, and we can influence it. When I understood this, it was as if a new door had opened in my life. I realized that although I couldn't control everything that happened around me, I could control the way I reacted to it, and that reaction directly influenced my vibration. Vibration begins on the inside. Our mind and our emotions are what determine the frequency we are vibrating at. If we surround ourselves with negative thoughts, our vibration inevitably drops, and we begin to attract experiences that match that energy. Conversely, if we cultivate positive thoughts and emotions, our frequency rises and our reality begins to change. Have you ever noticed that when you are in a good mood, everything seems to flow better? That is no coincidence. It is vibration in action. But how can we raise our frequency in the midst of difficulties? That is the question I ask myself many times. Life inevitably presents us with challenges, moments when it seems impossible to maintain a high vibration. However, I discovered that the key lies in awareness. It's not about avoiding pain or difficulties, but about how we choose to face them. Even in the darkest moments, we can choose to vibrate from a place of love, gratitude, or hope. I remember, once when everything around me seemed to be falling apart, I decided that I would not allow circumstances to dictate my vibration. I sat in silence, closed my eyes, and focused on something I was grateful for. At first, it seemed like something small, insignificant, but over time, that gratitude began to change my energy. The external circumstances didn't change immediately, but something inside me changed, and little by little, my reality began to reflect that new vibration. Vibration is the language of the universe. When we emit a frequency of love, joy, or gratitude, the universe responds with experiences that match that vibration. That is why, although we cannot always control what happens to us, we can choose how we react. And in that choice lies our power. How is vibration manifested in our relationships and in our environment? Every time we enter a room, we are connecting with the vibration of that space. People, places, and objects also vibrate at a frequency. That's why sometimes, when we enter certain places, we instantly feel comfortable or uncomfortable. What we are feeling is the vibrational energy that is being emitted. In my own relationships, I have seen how vibration affects everything. When two people vibrate at similar frequencies, there is a natural connection, a harmony. But when there is a big difference in their vibrations, conflict or distance can arise. I have learned that it is not enough just to want to be at peace or in harmony with someone. Our vibrations need to be aligned, and that starts with our own inner selves. How can we use vibration to transform our life? By understanding that our vibration, we also understand that we have the power to shape our reality. What we emit is what we attract. So if we want to attract more love, more peace, more abundance, we must first vibrate at that frequency. It's not about pretending or forcing an emotion, but about truly connecting with those vibrations on a deep level. One way I do it is through sound, music, mantras. Even the human voice have the power to raise our vibration. Sometimes when I feel disconnected or lost, I simply listen to a melody that resonates with me or repeat words that lift my spirit. In those moments, I can feel my energy changing, my vibration adjusting, and with it, everything around me also begins to change. How do we shape our reality through vibration? Vibration is not something that simply affects our mood or our emotions. It is the basis of reality itself. Every thought, every emotion, every action emits a frequency that interacts with the energetic field of the universe. Everything we see, feel, and experience is a reflection of those vibrations. I remember a day after a deep meditation when I went out into the world with a new perspective. Everything looked different. The people around me seemed kinder. The problems that used to weigh on me felt lighter, but the world hadn't changed. I had changed. My vibration had changed, and with it, my reality. At that moment, I understood that the reality we experience is not separate from us. We are co-creators of it through our vibrations. The science of vibration is the science of life itself. When we learn to tune our frequencies to the highest vibrations, the universe responds. We find ourselves surrounded by people, experiences, and opportunities that resonate with our new energy. Our life becomes a symphony where each note, each frequency, creates a reality that reflects who we are on the inside. And so each day is a new opportunity to adjust our vibration, to consciously create the reality we want to live. Because in the end, everything is vibration. Everything we are, everything we see, everything we experience vibrates at a unique frequency. And in that frequency, we find the power to shape our life. Chapter 8. The Triad of Manifestation, the Secrets of the Number 3. What makes the number 3 so special? This is a question I asked myself many times without knowing that the answer was not simply numerical, but profoundly spiritual. The number 3 is the key to manifestation, a triad that is repeated in all aspects of life. From the first time I began to observe it, I realized that 3 was present everywhere, in the cycle of life, in our relationships, in the universe itself. It was no coincidence, but a cosmic pattern, a sign of the power that the number 3 has to create. Think about it. Everything begins with a thought, a seed we plant in our mind. Then comes the word, the intention we give it, bringing it to life. And finally, there is the action, the physical manifestation of what we had imagined. Thought, word, and action. That is the triad of creation. It is as if the universe is constantly reminding us that nothing can be completed without this 3-phase cycle. What does the number 3 really represent? The number 3 is the symbol of creation in its purest state. It is the union of opposing forces that gives birth to something new. On the physical plane, we see this triad in many places: body, mind, and spirit, past, present, and future, father, mother, and child. 3 is the point where everything comes together, where the invisible becomes visible, where the idea becomes reality. I remember a moment in my life when I felt that something was missing, as if my efforts to create, to manifest what I wanted, were incomplete. I didn't understand why until I realized that I was leaving out a crucial aspect of the process: action. I had the thoughts and the words, but I was not acting. And without action, the cycle is not complete. The number 3 teaches us that it is not enough to dream or wish. We must speak of our desires, give them form through our intentions, and then we must act accordingly. It is a cycle that cannot be broken if we want to manifest what we long for. How is the triad manifested in our daily lives? Every day, without realizing it, we live in this triad of creation. When we have an idea, we share it, and then we act. We are participating in the power of the number 3. The number 3 is balance. It is the synthesis of the creative forces that operate in us and in the universe. But it is also a reminder that we must be attentive to all aspects of the process. Sometimes we believe that it is enough to think about what we want and visualize it, but that is only the first step. Thought is the seed, but words and actions are the water and the sun that allow that seed to grow. I have learned this firsthand after having spent a lot of time trapped in the cycle of unfulfilled desires. It was not until I began to speak clearly about what I wanted and act in line with my intentions that the universe began to respond. Why is the number 3 important for manifestation? Because 3 represents the complete cycle. It is the number of creativity and expansion, but it is also the number of commitment. You cannot manifest without being completely involved in the process, and that means thinking, speaking, and acting. Every time one of these steps is missing, the manifestation weakens. Think about nature. A flower cannot grow if only the seed exists, and it does not receive water or sunlight. In the same way, your dreams cannot flourish if they only live in your mind. They must be nourished by your words, expressed to the world with intention, and then fed by your actions. That is the true magic of the number 3. I remember a project I wanted to carry out, but that did not seem to move forward. I was frustrated because I thought I was doing everything possible. But then I realized that I was only focused on the mental part, on the thoughts. I was not speaking clearly about my desires or acting with the necessary force. It was then that I decided to change my approach, to speak of what I wanted with conviction and to take concrete actions. And as if something had changed in the air, everything began to flow. How can we use the power of 3 to manifest our desires? First, recognize the triad in your life. Every time you want to create something new, whether it's a project, a relationship, or an experience, make sure to include these 3 aspects: thought, word, and action. Thought connects you with potential, word with intention, and action with reality. I have realized that when I face challenges in manifesting my desires, it is because I am leaving out a part of this process. Maybe I am not thinking clearly about what I want. Maybe I am not expressing my desires with enough force. Or maybe I am not acting with the necessary consistency. The number 3 reminds me that I can only manifest when I am completely aligned with all 3 levels. How does it feel when the number 3 works in your favor? When the triad of manifestation is complete, everything flows. There is a feeling of lightness, of certainty. You feel that the universe is on your side, that the pieces are coming together in an almost magical way. But it is not magic in the sense of the impossible. It is magic in the sense that everything is working in harmony. I have experienced moments when, by aligning my thoughts, words, and actions, doors opened almost effortlessly. But it was not until I understood the power of the number 3 that I understood why it was happening. The number 3 is balance. It is creative force in motion. The number 3 is the secret of creation. In it, we find the balance between what we imagine, what we express, and what we do. It is the cycle that transforms ideas into reality, the bridge between the invisible and the visible. It is the number that reminds us that we are co-creators with the universe, that we have the power to manifest our desires when we work in harmony with this principle. So the next time you wonder how to manifest what you want, think about the number 3. Remember that it is not enough to have a dream or an intention. You must give it life with your words and nourish it with your actions. Because only when all 3 aspects are aligned does the universe respond with creation. Chapter 9. Beings of Light and Darkness. The eternal struggle for knowledge. Have you ever felt that there are forces within you that fight for your attention? I have felt it many times, as if 2 invisible currents were silently facing each other, each pulling toward an opposite extreme. One part of me wants to ascend, to expand toward the light, while the other pulls me toward the shadows, toward the unknown, toward fear. This struggle is not just mine, it is the struggle of everyone. It is the eternal battle between light and darkness that lives in every being, in every corner of the universe. Knowledge is born from that struggle. I have learned it over time, not through written words, but through the deepest experiences of my life. In the light we find clarity, understanding, peace. But in the darkness, we find the raw truth, the confrontation with who we really are. Who can live only in the light, and at the same time, who can endure only the darkness? This balance between the 2 forces is what leads us to a greater understanding of ourselves and the world around us. What do the beings of light and darkness represent? The beings of light and darkness are not just mythical entities or abstract concepts. They are energies, presences that live within us and around us. Light represents what we know, what we can see clearly: goodness, love, wisdom. Darkness, on the other hand, is the mystery, the hidden, what we fear and what we still do not understand. I remember once, in a moment of great internal conflict, I felt that my mind was divided. I wanted to move toward what I knew was right, toward the light that promised me peace. But at the same time, a part of me resisted. I felt the pull of the darkness, not as something evil, but as a force that invited me to look deeper, to face my shadows. It was then that I understood that it is not about choosing one or the other, but about learning to walk with both. Light without darkness cannot be understood, and darkness without light becomes impenetrable. This is the duality that defines us. The beings of light guide us toward knowledge, but the beings of darkness teach us what we do not want to see. And it is in that union that we truly find the truth. Why do we need both light and darkness? Sometimes we strive to live only in the light, as if it were the safe place, the refuge that will protect us from everything we fear. But light without darkness is incomplete. It is in the darkness that we discover our depths, where we are challenged to grow, to face our deepest fears. The beings of darkness, far from being our enemies, are the teachers who show us what we have not yet resolved within ourselves. I have learned that when we evade darkness, when we try to ignore or repress it, it finds a way to appear again, sometimes in more intense ways. It is only when we face it, when we allow ourselves to walk its paths, that we can integrate it and find balance. Darkness invites us to know the parts of us that we have forgotten or rejected. It is a difficult journey, but a necessary one. I remember a recurring dream I had for many years, in which I was walking through a dark forest, looking for a way out to the light. Every time I tried to run toward what I thought was the light, I got more lost. It was in one of those dreams when I stopped running, and simply observed. And in that moment of stillness, the darkness ceased to be threatening. The light was not outside of me, it was inside, and the darkness was just the path to find it. What role do these beings play in our daily lives? We don't always realize it, but these forces are present in every decision we make, in every emotion we feel. When we are facing a challenge, a crossroads, in life, we feel that pull between light and darkness. Light calls us to move forward, to trust, to stand firm in our values. Darkness, on the other hand, invites us to question, to doubt, to explore what we still do not understand. Both forces are essential for our growth. The beings of light offer us the clarity necessary to move forward, but it is in the darkness that we find the questions we must ask ourselves to continue to evolve. We sometimes feel that darkness is a threat, but it is only an invitation to look beyond the superficial. I have felt that struggle in my own relationships, in my projects, in the moments when I have doubted myself. And what I have discovered is that light and darkness are not opposites in the sense that one must defeat the other. Rather, they are complementary. Both are necessary for our understanding and evolution. How can we learn to walk with both? The key is to accept that both light and darkness are essential parts of our existence. We should not fear darkness or idolize light, but recognize that each has its role in our journey toward knowledge. The beings of light help us see what is clear and evident, but the beings of darkness lead us toward what is hidden, toward the depths of our being. For me, one of the most transformative moments was when I stopped fighting against the darkness and began to listen to what it had to teach me. It was not easy. Fear is always present when we face the unknown. But behind that fear, there is immense wisdom. I have learned that when we accept darkness, when we stop seeing it as a threat, it becomes an ally. The struggle between light and darkness is not a battle that must be won, but a balance that must be found. Both forces exist within us, and it is only when we embrace both that we can truly understand the knowledge that the universe has to offer us. The beings of light show us the way, but the beings of darkness show us who we are on that path. Where do you find that balance in your life? Perhaps in moments of doubt, in the challenges you face, in the emotions you prefer not to feel. It is in those moments where the eternal struggle between light and darkness becomes most evident, but also where the opportunity for the greatest growth is presented. The beings of light and darkness are here to guide us. They are not irreconcilable opposites, but companions on our journey toward knowledge. Light gives us clarity, but it is in the darkness that we find the truth. And it is only by walking with both that we can achieve a deeper understanding of who we are and the purpose we carry within. Chapter 10. The Veil of Reality. Beyond the illusion of the physical world, have you ever felt that what you see is not all there is? I have felt it too. For a long time I lived believing that the tangible, what I could touch and see with my own eyes, was the only thing that was real. But what if I told you that what we see is only a small part of a much vaster reality? That idea struck me for the first time when, in a moment of deep reflection, I realized that what we call reality is covered by a veil, one that hides the true meaning of everything around us. The physical world is only one part of the story. What we can perceive with our five senses is just the surface, like a mirage in the desert that distracts us from what really matters. But behind that veil, there is something more, something that is not seen but is felt, something that connects us to the essence of everything that is. How do you know if you are living in an illusion? The key is to learn to look beyond the visible. What is the veil of reality? The veil is what separates the physical from the spiritual, the visible from the invisible. It is what keeps us focused on the superficial, on the immediate, while the true purpose of life hides behind it, waiting to be discovered. I remember a moment in my life when everything I believed to be real fell apart. I had held on so tightly to what I could control and understand with my logical mind that I forgot that there is more beyond what my eyes could see. That was the first tear in the veil. Physical reality is only a temporary manifestation, a reflection of something much deeper. Every object, Every person, every situation we live has a meaning beyond what we can understand at first glance. The veil keeps us tied to what we believe is real. But when we begin to question, when we begin to feel that there is something more, the veil begins to unravel. What does it feel like when the veil is torn? For me, it was a mixture of liberation and confusion. Suddenly, what once seemed important lost its weight. The problems, the worries, the fears that I had carried with me for years felt small, almost insignificant. It was as if a part of me had been trapped in an illusion, believing that everything depended on what I could see and control. But in that moment, I realized that true reality is beyond the visible. I remember once while meditating, I felt as if something inside me opened up, as if my senses expanded. I was no longer looking at the world through the eyes of my mind, but through something deeper, more intuitive. I felt a connection to everything around me, a certainty that what I saw with my eyes was not all there was. The veil had been torn, and for a moment, I could see beyond the illusion. Why do we live behind this veil? The veil is a protection, a way of navigating the physical world without being overwhelmed by the vastness of what really exists. It is like a mask that helps us focus on the immediate, on what we need to survive. But it also hides the immensity of who we really are. We cling to the physical because it is what we know, what we can control. But the true magic of life is beyond that control, in the unknown, in the invisible. Behind the veil is the truth, and the truth is that we are more than our bodies, more than our daily experiences. We are part of something much bigger, something that cannot be measured or seen, but that can be felt deeply. The veil teaches us to live in this world, but only when we are ready do we begin to look beyond it. How can we start to see beyond the veil? The first key is questioning. Stop accepting things as they are presented and begin to ask, is this all there is? What more can I discover if I look deeper? It was not until I started asking myself these questions that I began to notice the cracks in the veil, small moments where physical reality seemed to fall apart, revealing something deeper, something more true. Another way to tear the veil is through connection with our inner being. When we close our eyes and immerse ourselves in silence, we begin to feel something beyond what our physical senses can perceive. It is in those moments of stillness that we can hear the voice of truth, a voice that tells us that the physical world is only a temporary stage and that true reality is in energy, in vibration, in the invisible. The veil of reality is fragile, and when we begin to see beyond it, what we find is freedom. Freedom from the limitations we impose on ourselves, freedom from the fears that hold us back. What we find is a deep connection to everything that is, a certainty that we are part of something bigger than this body, this life, this moment. What happens when we finally look beyond the veil? What happens is that life changes completely. What once seemed important loses its relevance, and we begin to live from a place of greater depth, of greater meaning. We realize that external circumstances are not what really matters, because what happens in the physical world is just a manifestation of something bigger that is happening on the spiritual plane. I remember the day I really felt I had started to see beyond the veil. I was in a difficult moment, facing situations that had caused me a lot of pain. But instead of letting those circumstances define me, I decided to look beyond the visible. I asked myself, what is this trying to teach me? What is behind this experience? And it was then that I saw that physical reality was only a small part of the story. What was really happening was an awakening, a growth, an expansion of my consciousness. Beyond the veil is the truth of who we are. We are not just bodies walking on earth, struggling to survive. We are spiritual beings connected to something much vaster and deeper than what we can see. The physical world is important, of course, but it is only one layer of reality. When we begin to tear the veil, to look beyond the visible. We find a peace that transcends circumstances, a love that does not depend on the external, and a certainty that everything we live has a greater purpose. The veil is there to protect us, but it is also there to be overcome when we are ready. And when we do, we discover that reality is not something we simply see. It is something we feel, something we are. And in that truth, we find our freedom. Chapter 11. Codes of the Universe. The Hidden Wisdom of Numbers. Have you ever stopped to think about the numbers that surround you? Numbers on dates, in times, in the cycles of nature, in the repetition of patterns that seem to follow us? I have felt it too. That mysterious connection between numbers and what we experience day by day. Numbers are not just empty symbols. They are codes of the universe, a way in which the cosmos communicates with us, guiding us, showing us paths, and revealing truths hidden from plain sight. For a long time, I believed that numbers were just practical tools for counting or measuring. But then I began to notice something different. Certain numbers seemed to appear at key moments in my life, in dreams, in conversations, in important decisions. I wondered, why this number at this moment? And it was in that questioning that I discovered that each number carries a vibration, a hidden wisdom that tells us about our mission, about what is happening beyond the obvious. What do numbers mean beyond what we can see? Numbers are more than mathematical tools. They are the way the universe organizes and communicates its essential structure. Since ancient times, numbers have been revered as sacred symbols, carriers of deep secrets about life, destiny, and the purpose of the soul. Each number is a code, a key to understanding the rhythm and dance of creation. I remember when I began to notice the presence of the number 7 in my life. It appeared in moments of introspection, on days when I was looking for deeper answers about my path. At first, I ignored it as a simple coincidence, but then upon investigating it further, I discovered that the number 7 is linked to spirituality, to the inner search, to the connection with the divine. That number was speaking to me, showing me that I was at the perfect time to delve into my own being. This is how numbers work. They don't speak to us in a loud voice, but they whisper to us through repeated patterns, through those moments when they seem to appear by chance. But are there really coincidences? I began to realize that numbers are the secret language of the universe, a language that invites us to listen, to pay attention to what we cannot see, but what is always present. How do we decipher the numerical codes in our lives? The key is to be attentive, to observe with the heart. The numbers are always there, waiting to be interpreted. Each number has a specific vibration, and that vibration resonates with different aspects of our life. The number 1, for example, symbolizes a beginning, leadership, the impulse to start something new. The number 2, on the other hand, speaks to us of balance, of duality, of partnerships. Each number is like a note in a cosmic melody, and we are the musicians who must learn to interpret that symphony. I myself have seen how numbers guide our decisions. Sometimes, without realizing it, we choose a day to start a project or make an important decision, and then we look back and see how certain numbers were present in those moments. Numbers are not only on clocks or calendars, they are also in the energy of events, in the people we meet, in the opportunities that come our way. What do numbers teach us about ourselves? Each of us has numbers that resonate more deeply with our essence. Our names, our dates of birth, are full of codes that tell us about our life's mission, the challenges we will face, the lessons we came to learn. Numerology is the art of deciphering those codes, of understanding what vibrations accompany us from the moment we are born and how those vibrations influence our destiny. I remember having my first numerological analysis. Upon discovering the numbers that were part of my life path, it was as if a light turned on. I suddenly understood why certain patterns kept repeating themselves, why some lessons seemed to come back again and again. My numbers were guiding me, showing me which aspects of myself I needed to work on, what my hidden strengths were, and what paths I should avoid to not fall into the same mistakes of the past. How can we use the wisdom of numbers in our daily lives? It's not about living obsessed with numbers, but about learning to listen to them, to feel them. Numbers are present in every aspect of our lives. Each day, each decision, each opportunity is tinged with the energy of the numbers that surround us. When we open ourselves to their wisdom, we begin to see patterns. We begin to understand that nothing is by chance. The universe moves in a perfect order, and numbers are the map that shows us that order. I have learned to use numbers as a guide. When I see a repeated number, I ask myself, what message does it carry? If the number 3 appears on my day, I know it is a call to creativity, to expansion. If the number 8 resonates in my decisions, it is a reminder that abundance and power are available, but it also invites me to be responsible with those gifts. Each number has its lesson, and when we learn to listen, our decisions become more conscious, more aligned with what we really need at that moment. What is the code that resonates with you? Maybe you already know, or maybe you haven't discovered it yet. But what is certain is that the numbers are always there, waiting for us to decipher them. Each of us has a number that guides us, that accompanies us throughout our lives. And when we discover it, we find a deeper meaning in our decisions, in our experiences, in our relationships. Numbers are the codes of the universe, and their wisdom is available to all who are willing to listen. They are not impossible mysteries to decipher. They are messages that the cosmos sends us to help us better understand who we are and where we are going. And in that understanding, we find the power to live more consciously, more connected, more in tune with the rhythm of the universe. Numbers show us the way. They are silent but powerful guides that remind us that everything we live has a purpose, an order, a pattern. We are not lost in chaos. We are following a much larger plan, and numbers are the key to understanding that plan. Listen to the numbers, feel them in your life, and you will see how reality begins to reveal itself in a completely new way. Chapter 12. Cosmic Revelations. The invisible architecture of the universe. Have you ever wondered how the universe is held? Together? I have wondered about it many times, too. I'm not just talking about the stars and planets that revolve in a perfect balance, but about that invisible structure, that force that keeps everything in place even when we can't see it. What holds the universe together? That is a question that has not left me since the day I began to feel that everything we believe to be chaotic is actually woven by a perfect order. An order that we cannot see, but that is always present, guiding every aspect of our lives. The universe is an invisible work of art, a cosmic architecture so vast and complex that our minds can barely comprehend it. But what if I told you that you can feel it, that you can connect with it? Every time we experience those moments of deep intuition, when we feel that something greater than ourselves is working in the background of our lives, we are touching that architecture. Life is not random. It is designed with a precision that transcends what we can understand at first glance. What is this invisible architecture? It is the fabric of the universe, the underlying structure that unites everything that exists. It is the energy that flows between the stars, the invisible threads that connect every atom, every being, every thought. We are not always aware of it, but it is there, always present, organizing what we sometimes perceive as chaos. The universe is a perfect design, but it does not show itself through visible lines, but through vibrations, patterns, and rhythms that we can feel if we are quiet enough to listen. I remember a moment on a quiet night when I looked at the sky and felt overwhelmed by the immensity of everything. How is it possible that something so vast stays in balance? And in that instant of silence, it was as if something inside me awakened. It was not a response in words, but a deep feeling of connection, a sense that everything is where it should be, as if an invisible hand were moving the pieces of the universe, making sure that everything, every being, is in the exact place at the exact moment. How does this invisible architecture affect our daily lives? We often feel that our lives are a series of disorganized events, of chaos followed by small victories. But if we could see the complete picture, we would realize that there is an order behind every event, even those we do not understand at the time. Every twist, every change, is part of a bigger plan, a cosmic symphony that follows an invisible pattern. I have had days when everything seemed to be out of control, where obstacles piled up and I saw no way out. But it was in those moments when I surrendered to the apparent chaos that I began to feel the order behind the confusion. The architecture of the universe is not linear. Sometimes it goes around, sometimes it takes us down paths we don't understand. But it is always, always guiding us toward a greater destiny. Nothing is random, not even the moments that seem to be. How can we align ourselves with this cosmic structure? To begin, we must learn to trust that what we cannot see is as real as what we have in front of us. The architecture of the universe envelops us, sustains us. But we are often so focused on what we can control that we forget what is beyond our control. The key is to let go, not in the sense of giving up, but in the sense of trusting that there is a larger structure that is working in our favor, even when we don't understand it. I remember a time in my life when I was struggling to keep everything under control. I was determined that things would turn out a certain way, that my life would follow a specific plan. But the universe had other plans. It was only when I stopped resisting, when I accepted that I could not see the complete design, that I began to notice the patterns that were unfolding. The universe does not always move as we expect, but it always moves in the right direction. How is this architecture revealed through our experiences? Often, the most difficult moments of our lives are the ones that show us the hidden design of the universe. It is in those moments of pain, of uncertainty, when the veil is torn a little, and we can see, even for an instant, the purpose behind everything. It is not always immediate, but over time, we realize that every challenge, every loss, was guiding us toward a deeper understanding, toward a more intimate connection with the truth. In my own life, there were moments when I thought everything was lost. The plans I had made fell apart. The relationships I thought were permanent disappeared. But over time, I began to see that those moments were necessary, that they were part of a larger pattern that my mind could not comprehend at the time. The architecture of the universe is not revealed all at once, but in small flashes, in moments of profound revelation that come when we are ready to see them. How can we feel this architecture in the everyday? To feel the invisible architecture of the universe, we must learn to be present. It's not about understanding everything or looking for answers around every corner, but about opening ourselves to the possibility that what we don't see is as alive as what we can touch. The energy that holds the stars is the same that holds us. And when we begin to see the world through that lens, everything changes. I have discovered that the moments of greatest connection with that cosmic structure are not the most grandiose, but the simplest. The sound of the wind, the rhythm of the heart, the way the leaves fall to the ground in autumn, all these small moments are part of the larger design, part of the invisible symphony that surrounds us. When we are present, we begin to feel that rhythm. We begin to see how everything, even the smallest thing, has its place in the vast architecture of the universe. The universe is woven with invisible threads. That is the truth I have discovered throughout my life. We are not alone. We are not adrift. Each of us is an essential part of this cosmic design, and although we cannot always see how we fit into the greater plan, we can trust that we do. The Yai, architecture of the universe, is perfect, even when we don't understand it. And so, each day is an opportunity to align ourselves with that design, to surrender to the flow of the universe, and to trust that even if we can't see it, we are being guided. The universe always knows what it's doing, and when we begin to see beyond the visible, when we connect with that invisible architecture, we find a peace that transcends what we can understand. Chapter 13. The Alchemy of the Name Transformation. Through the word, have you ever wondered about the power of your name? I have, many times. At first, I believed that a name was just a word that identified us, something we received at birth and that had no great importance. But over time, I discovered that a name is much more than a set of letters. It is a vibration, an energy that defines us, guides us, and in some cases, transforms us. Every time we hear our name, it's as if a part of our essence is called to awaken. The alchemy of the name is real. I have felt that power in my own life, in moments when a simple word, a word spoken with intention, completely changed my energy. A name is more than a sound. It's an affirmation, a declaration of who we are and what we are destined to be. Every time we pronounce a name, we activate its vibration, and that vibration resonates with the universe, calling the corresponding energy toward us. How can a name have so much power? Names, like words, are more than symbols. They are vehicles of energy. In many ancient traditions, it was believed that to know someone's true name was to know their essence, their soul. The name connects the visible with the invisible, the physical with the spiritual. It is the bridge that unites who we are with who we are destined to be. Each letter, each sound, carries a particular vibration, and when those letters are combined, they create a unique melody that defines our life experience. I remember when I first started investigating the meaning of my own name. It was not just an exercise in curiosity. It was an act of self-knowledge. I discovered that my name carried a story, a strength, and that this strength had been present in the most important moments of my life, guiding my path even when I was not aware of it. The name we carry is a key that opens the doors of our destiny. Can a name really transform us? Yes, it can. The name is a reflection of identity, but it can also be a tool for transformation. Throughout my life, I have seen how changing the way I relate to my name, or even changing an aspect of it, has transformed my energy, my perspective, and the opportunities I attract. The act of naming something is an act of creation. When we name our desires, our dreams, we give them shape, we give them life. I have known people who, in moments of profound change, decided to modify their name or adopt a new one. And with that simple act, they awakened a new version of themselves, as if by renaming, they were rewriting their story. A name is not just what others use to call us, it is what we use to call ourselves. And when we say it with intention, with awareness, we are activating its alchemical power. What happens when we start using our name with awareness? What happens is that the energy changes. We begin to feel the weight and power of each letter, of each sound. It is not just another word in the world. It is a constant reminder of who we are and what we can be. The name becomes an affirmation of our purpose, and when we start using it with that awareness, the universe responds by aligning opportunities, people, and experiences with that vibration. In my life, I have felt how, by pronouncing my own name in moments of doubt or challenge, a new energy arises within me. It's as if my name reminds me of my strength, my purpose, the reason why I am here. And not just my name, but also the words I use to describe what I want, what I seek. Words are powerful, and the name is the most powerful word of all. How can we transform our life through our name? Transformation begins with recognition, recognizing the power that our name has, not as a simple label, but as a declaration of who we are. Then we must learn to use it with intention. When we say our name, we must feel its vibration. We must understand that every time we pronounce it, we are activating a part of our being. The name is not static, it is dynamic. It is a tool for continuous creation. I have seen how people, by changing the way they use their name, change their relationship with life. It is no longer just a word that identifies them, it is a word that empowers them. And the same thing happens with the words we use to describe what we want. Naming a desire is giving it shape. It's bringing it into the world of the tangible. The magic of the word is not only in the name we carry, but in the words we choose to describe our reality. What name do you give to your dreams, to your fears, to your achievements? Because everything we name comes to life. Naming is the first step in creation. When we name something, we bring it from the abstract to the concrete. If we name our fears, we face them. If we name our dreams, we begin to give them shape. The name is not just a reflection of who we are. It is a tool to transform our life. Think about the times you have said your name out loud. How did you feel? Now imagine saying it, knowing that you are activating its vibration, its power. Imagine using your name as a daily affirmation, a word that reminds you of your purpose, your strength, your ability to create. That is the alchemy of the name. Transformation through the word. The word creates. The name transforms. Every time we use our name with intention, we are transforming our energy, our life. It is not just a word, it is a call, an invitation to remember who we really are. And when we begin to use our name in this way, we activate its alchemical power. We begin to transform not only our identity, but also our reality. The name is the key, and when we learn to use that key, we open doors that once seemed closed. We transform the course of our life and connect with the power that has always been within us. Chapter 14. The Power of Master Numbers, the Wisdom of 22, and its Leadership. What does it really mean to be a leader? I have reflected on this question many times. From a young age, we are taught that being a leader is directing others, guiding with firmness, showing the way. But over time, I learned that true leadership does not come from imposing, but from building, from lifting others up, and from forging a path that inspires others to follow. The number 22 is a master number that contains that profound wisdom, an energy of construction, of manifestation, and of leadership in its highest form. The number 22 is the architect of the universe, the silent leader who builds from the root, who transforms dreams into tangible realities. And it's not just about building in the physical world, it's about building within oneself, about leading from the soul. When I first connected with the power of 22, I understood that I was not only destined to lead projects or people, but to lead my own destiny, to be the architect of my life. What is a master number and why is 22 special? In numerology, master numbers are high-level vibrations, energies that connect us with the highest potential of humanity. The number 22 is one of the most powerful, known as the master builder. It carries with it the vibration of the number 2, which represents duality, cooperation, and sensitivity, but elevated to a greater power. The number 22 has the ability to take the biggest ideas, the most impossible dreams, and give them shape in the real world. I remember when I began to notice the influence of the number 22 in my life. It wasn't a number that simply appeared on dates or events. It was a deep call that resonated in my moments of greatest challenge. The 22 spoke to me of leadership, but not the kind of leadership that is imposed from the outside, but the leadership that is cultivated from within, the one that builds with purpose, patience, and vision. How is the leadership of the number 22 manifested? The leadership of the number 22 is not imposing. It is a leadership that is built with wisdom, step by step, stone by stone. Unlike other numbers that may focus on immediate action or the impulse of the moment, the 22 understands the importance of structure, of laying the foundations before raising the tower. This master number teaches that before leading others, we must lead our own lives. We must be the architects of our own destiny. In my life, there were moments when I tried to rush, when I wanted to see quick results. But the 22 always reminded me of the importance of patience and planning. It is not a number that allows you to build castles in the air. It is a number that teaches you to build solid foundations, to think long-term, to be a leader who inspires confidence because your vision is clear and stable. What challenges does the number 22 bring with it? Like any master number, the 22 is not easy to handle. It carries with it a great responsibility. It is a number of vision, but also of weight. Those who resonate with this energy feel the pressure to fulfill their potential, not to let their dreams remain as mere ideas. The 22 pushes you to act, but not impulsively. It asks you to think, to plan, to build something that will last beyond your life. On my own path, I felt that pressure. There were dreams that I knew were big, sometimes too big, and I didn't know if I could achieve them. But the 22 reminded me that leadership is not about doing everything at once, but about doing what is needed at each moment, about building with patience and dedication. Challenges are not there to stop you. They are there to teach you to be stronger, wiser, more determined. How can we channel the power of 22 in our lives? To work with the energy of 22, we must first learn to trust our vision. The 22 is a number that teaches us to dream big, but also to be realistic about what is needed for those dreams to come true. It's not just about imagining, but about creating a plan, taking action, building step by step. I have learned that channeling the power of 22 in my life means being disciplined, being consistent. It's not always exciting, but the 22 reminds us that the most valuable things take time. Every small action counts. Every decision builds something bigger. The number 22 invites us to be leaders of our own lives. Not to wait for others to guide us, but to take the reins and create the path we want to see manifested. How does the 22 transform us into true leaders? The leadership that 22 brings is not about control, it's about inspiring others through example. When we lead with the energy of 22, we are not looking for recognition or power. We are looking to build something that benefits everyone. The 22 invites us to look beyond our individual needs and to create something that serves the collective, something that leaves a mark on the world. I remember a moment in my life when I realized that true leadership was not about being the first or the most outstanding, but about being the most consistent, the most dedicated to a cause greater than myself. The number 22 taught me that leadership is not a title. It is a calling to build with purpose, to transform our lives and the lives of others through conscious and responsible actions. What legacy do you want to leave as a leader? That is the question that the 22 invites us to ask ourselves. It's not just about what we do today, but about what we want to leave as a legacy for the future. Are we building something that will last? Are we leading from the heart, from a vision that inspires and uplifts others? The 22 reminds us that every action has an impact and that we are the architects not only of our lives, but of the world we want to see. The number 22 is the wisdom of construction, the power to turn the biggest dreams into tangible realities. It teaches us that true leadership is not about controlling, but about guiding, about building something that transcends our own lives. It is a number that invites us to dream big, but also to be patient, to be constant, to trust that every step, no matter how small, is part of a greater work. And in that process, the number 22 transforms us. It turns us into true leaders, those who inspire not with empty words, but with the solidity of their actions, with the firmness of their vision. Chapter 15. The Magic of the Number 7. The Path to Spiritual Perfection. Have you ever felt that there is a path you must follow, one that goes beyond the earthly? I have felt it many times, as if there were an invisible path, a hidden path that calls us to seek something deeper, something more significant. That path is the number 7. The number 7 has always been a number shrouded in mystery, in magic, in the search for truth beyond appearances. It is the number that invites us to look inward, to explore the most hidden corners of our soul, and to connect with universal wisdom. The number 7 is the number of spiritual perfection, but not an external perfection, but an internal one. It is the number that reminds us that true evolution is not in what we do, but in what we are. It is a number that calls us to withdraw from the noise of the world, to seek peace in silence, to find answers not in what is outside, but in what has always been within us. What does the number 7 mean, and why is it so special? 7 is a sacred number. It represents the connection between the earthly and the divine, between the visible and the invisible. Since ancient times, it has been considered a number of wisdom, introspection, and spiritual revelation. It is the number of seekers, those who are not content with the superficial, who feel the need to understand the depths of the soul and the universe. The number 7 leads us inward. It invites us to reflect, to question, to seek answers beyond what the eye can see. I remember when I began to feel the presence of 7 in my life. It was not just a number that appeared on clocks or dates. It was a deep call. Every time 7 manifested, I felt that it was a reminder that there was something more to discover, something my soul needed to understand. 7 is not just a number. It is a door that leads us to the spiritual truth that has always been there, waiting to be revealed. How does the number 7 guide us on our spiritual path? The 7 is the number that invites us to awaken. It is not a number of quick action or external achievements, but of reflection, meditation, and inner growth. It is the number that leads us to ask the questions that really matter. Who am I? Why am I here? What is my purpose in this life? These are not easy questions to answer, and 7 teaches us that we do not need to rush to find answers. Instead, it invites us to live the questions, to walk the path with patience, with humility, knowing that wisdom reveals itself in its own time. On my own path, the number 7 has been a silent teacher. It has shown me that true wisdom does not come from accumulating knowledge, but from integrating what we already know into our being. It has taught me that spirituality is not about following external rules or achieving some unattainable ideal, but about deepening our connection with the divine that lives in each of us. The 7 reminds us that the true journey is inward. What are the challenges of the number 7? 7 is a number that often leads us to moments of solitude, but not a solitude that we should fear, but a solitude that we should embrace. It is in those moments of silence when we are alone with our thoughts and emotions that we can begin to see with clarity. The 7 challenges us to face our shadow, to confront the parts of us that we have been avoiding. It is not a number that is content with the superficial. It wants us to go further, to explore the unknown within ourselves. I have experienced those moments of solitude and reflection, moments when it seemed that the outside world did not have the answers I was looking for. But 7 taught me that the answers are not outside, but inside. And to find them, we must be willing to walk that solitary path, to embrace the darkness as much as the light, knowing that both are necessary for our spiritual growth. How can we walk the path of the number 7 in our daily lives? The number 7 invites us to live consciously. to make introspection a daily practice. It's not about withdrawing from the world or abandoning our responsibilities, but about bringing spirituality into every aspect of our lives. Every day is an opportunity to reflect, to connect with our inner selves and with the divine that surrounds us. The 7 reminds us that every experience, every challenge is a lesson, an opportunity to grow spiritually. I have learned that living the number 7 means finding the balance between the material world and the spiritual world. It is not necessary to renounce one to find the other. On the contrary, the 7 teaches us that we can live with one foot in each world, that we can bring spiritual wisdom to our daily actions and at the same time find spiritual perfection in the small things in life. What does it mean to achieve spiritual perfection? Spiritual perfection, as the number 7 teaches us, is not a state we reach, but a path we walk. It's not about being perfect in the traditional sense, but about being in constant evolution, in constant search for the truth. Spiritual perfection is a journey, not a destination. It is the process of connecting more and more with our essence, of understanding that life is a reflection of who we are on the inside, and of continuously working on that reflection. For me, the number 7 has been a constant reminder that spirituality is not a goal to be achieved, but a way of life. It is a path we walk every day with every thought, with every action. And in that walk, we find moments of clarity, moments of deep connection with the divine that bring us closer and closer to spiritual perfection, not because we are perfect, but because we are in the process of continuously perfecting ourselves. The number 7 is the silent guide that invites us to look beyond the visible, to find magic in the hidden, in the spiritual. It reminds us that true perfection is not in the external, but in the constant work we do in our interior. It is the number that leads us to the deepest wisdom, not through action, but through reflection, through connection with our highest self. And so, every time the 7 is manifested in our life, it is a reminder that we are on a journey toward spiritual perfection, toward understanding our purpose in this vast universe. Chapter 16. The Transcendence of the Spirit. The Path to Illumination. What does it really mean to transcend? For a long time, I thought that to transcend was to get away from everything that binds us to this world. Problems, emotions, doubts. But over time, I discovered that true transcendence is not escaping, but transforming. To transcend is not to leave behind who we are, but to elevate it, to lead our spirit to a higher consciousness, to a place where the limitations of the body, mind, and emotions no longer define us. The path to illumination is a journey, one that we all feel at some point in the depths of our being. It is not a distant destination reserved for a few. It is a path that opens to all who are willing to look beyond the surface, beyond appearances, into the very heart of life. The spirit is eternal, and its journey is a dance between the visible and the invisible, between the material and the divine. What does it really mean to become illuminated? For many, illumination is an abstract concept, something that sounds unattainable or reserved for a few. But illumination is not an external event. It is not a distant goal that is achieved with extreme sacrifices. It is an awakening, a recognition of the truth that has always been within us. Illumination is not something we acquire, but something we discover. It is remembering who we are beyond our fears, beyond our doubts, beyond the stories we tell ourselves. Remember once, in a moment of deep silence when I felt that everything around me was fading away. For an instant, everything I believed to be important lost its weight. I felt an indescribable peace, a connection with something I couldn't name but that I knew had always been there. In that moment, I understood that illumination is not a perfect state of constant happiness, but a state of clarity, of connection with the eternal that lives within us. How do we begin the path to transcendence? The path to transcendence does not begin with a great event, but with small moments of introspection. Every time we stop to observe our emotions, to feel our doubts without judging them, we are taking a step toward illumination. Transcendence is not about denying who we are, but about accepting every part of ourselves with compassion. It is about looking at our shadows with love, knowing that they are part of the process of our spiritual growth. In my life, I learned that the first step toward transcendence is silence. Not just external silence, but internal silence. That space in which our worries and frantic thoughts dissolve, and all that remains is the beat of our spirit. It is in that silence that we can hear the voice of our soul, the voice that has always known the way, but that is often drowned out by the noise of the world. What are the challenges on this path? The path to illumination is not linear. It is a journey, full of challenges, of moments of doubt, of falls that seem like setbacks but are actually steps forward. Transcendence asks us to let go of the old versions of ourselves, the ones that cling to the security of the ego, of control, of fear. And it is not always easy. I have felt many times the fear of the unknown, the desire to cling to the familiar, even when I knew it no longer served me. Illumination is not an escape from suffering. It is a transformation of how we experience it. The challenges we face on this path are the greatest teachers we have. They show us the parts of ourselves that still need to be healed, the corners of our soul that we have not yet embraced with love. Every fall, every challenge is an invitation to look deeper, to find the light even in moments of darkness. How can we move toward illumination in our daily lives? We do not need to renounce the world to transcend. The path to illumination is found in the everyday, in every interaction, in every moment of stillness, in every challenge we face. Transcendence is not just for monasteries or distant mountains. It is here in the midst of our lives, waiting to be discovered in small acts of love, in the compassion we show to others, and in the patience we have with ourselves. I have learned that illumination is found in the details, in how we treat people, in how we respond to moments of frustration, in how we allow ourselves to feel without judging what arises. Every moment is an opportunity to choose transcendence, to choose peace instead of conflict, to choose love instead of fear. It is a continuous process, a constant reminder that we are more than what our circumstances make us believe. What do we find at the end of the path to transcendence? The truth is that there is no end, because transcendence is not a destination. It is a state of being that continues to expand, to grow, to evolve. Every step we take toward illumination leads us to new depths of understanding, to new revelations about who we are and what our place in the universe is. And every new revelation opens us to more light, more love, more connection with the divine. I remember the moment I finally understood that illumination is not a single event, but a series of small awakenings. Every time I choose love over fear, every time I see the beauty in chaos, every time I surrender to the flow of life, I am transcending, I am illuminating a part of my being. It is a continuous process, and in each small awakening, we find the truth of who we are, eternal beings of light connected to everything that is. The transcendence of the spirit is not an unattainable goal. It is a path that we are all walking, consciously or not. It is the process of remembering our divine nature, of connecting with the light that has always been within us. And as we walk that path, we find that illumination is not something we must achieve, but something that is already present, waiting to be discovered in the silence of our hearts. Illumination is a return to our purest, most truthful essence. And when we finally remember who we are, we find that transcendence is not an escape from this world, but a deep integration with it. It is living with an open heart, with a peaceful mind, and with a constantly expanding spirit. Chapter 17. The Secrets of the Number 9. Endings and New Beginnings. What do we feel when something comes to an end? For a long time, endings scared me. I clung to the known, fearful of what would come next, as if the closing of a chapter meant a definitive loss. But the number 9 taught me that endings are not really the end. In every conclusion, there is a rebirth. In every cycle that closes, a new one opens. The number 9 is the number of culmination, but also of transformation, of the rebirth that follows the end of a journey. The number 9 holds a deep wisdom. It is the number that invites us to accept the flow of life, to understand that every closing, every farewell, is just a door that leads us to a new path. I learned throughout my life that endings should not be feared, but celebrated. The number 9 reminds us that life is a cycle, a constant movement between what we leave behind and what we are destined to find ahead. What does the number 9 represent in our lives? The number 9 is the symbol of culmination and totality. It is the number of the end of a cycle, but not of a definitive end. In it, we find the teaching that nothing in life is truly permanent, that everything is in constant evolution. Endings are not losses, they are transformations. They are moments in which we make space for something new. The 9 teaches us to let go with love, to say goodbye with gratitude, knowing that every ending brings with it the promise of a new beginning. I remember a moment in my life when everything seemed to be falling apart. The things I had taken for granted began to vanish, and I found myself facing the fear of change. The number 9 then appeared as a whisper, reminding me that change was necessary, that endings were not the end, but the prelude to something greater. It taught me that although it hurts to let go, it is in that act of letting go that we create the space for the new. Why is the number 9 associated with endings and new beginnings? 9 is the last number in a sequence, but it is also the one that prepares us for the beginning of something new. In numerology, it represents the end of a complete cycle. But that ending is not static. It is dynamic. It is a point of transition. Just as winter gives way to spring, the moments of closure in our lives prepare us for rebirth. The number 9 teaches us that the end is never the absolute end, but an invitation to renew ourselves, to reinvent ourselves, to embrace the unknown. I have experienced painful endings, moments when it seemed that everything I knew was disappearing. But it was in those moments when the number 9 showed me its true power. It reminded me that life does not stop, that the end of one stage means the beginning of another. Every new beginning is born from the end of what was, and so, in every farewell, there is a promise of transformation. How can we learn to let go with the number 9? Letting go is one of the most difficult acts, but also one of the most liberating. The number 9 invites us to let go with love, to release what no longer serves us, not with fear or resentment, but with gratitude. Letting go is an act of trust. It is understanding that what we leave behind has fulfilled its purpose, and that what is coming has an even greater purpose. I have learned that letting go does not mean forgetting or erasing what was, but making space for what is to come. In my life, I have seen how, by clinging to what had already ended, I prevented myself from moving toward new opportunities. The number 9 taught me that true power is not in resisting change, but in flowing with it. Every time we let go of something, we are allowing something new to enter our lives, something that can surprise us, something that can elevate us. What does a new beginning mean in the context of the number 9? A new beginning does not always feel like one at first. Sometimes new beginnings arrive wrapped in uncertainty, in the fear of the unknown. But the number 9 teaches us to trust the process, to see each ending as preparation for what is to come. Every new beginning is an opportunity to grow, to reinvent ourselves, to write a new page in our story. I remember a moment when I was faced with a new beginning that I had not planned. the end of a relationship, the closing of a stage. At first, I saw it only as a loss, but over time, the 9 showed me that that ending was creating the space for something more authentic, something more aligned with who I really am. Every new beginning brings with it the opportunity to be more faithful to ourselves, to live with more clarity, with more purpose. How can we apply the wisdom of the number 9 in our daily lives? Life is full of cycles, of moments that begin and end. The number 9 invites us to be at peace with that flow, not to fear endings, but to see them as a natural part of our evolution. In every farewell, in every closing of a chapter, there is an opportunity to renew ourselves, to embrace what is to come with an open heart. The 9 teaches us to live with the understanding that nothing is permanent, but that in that impermanence, we find the beauty of life. I have learned that when we face an ending, big or small, we can apply the wisdom of 9 to close that cycle with gratitude. We can look back and honor what was, but also look ahead with hope, knowing that what is coming is part of our growth. The number 9 teaches us that every ending is actually a new beginning in disguise, an opportunity to reinvent ourselves, to create something new from the lessons learned. The number 9 is the number of transformation. It reminds us that in every ending, there is a new beginning. In every loss, there is a seed of rebirth. It is the number that invites us to let go with love, to release what has already fulfilled its purpose, knowing that what is coming is part of our journey to something greater, deeper, more true. Endings are not the end. They are the beginning of something more beautiful, something we can only see when we learn to let go, when we trust the cycle of life. The number 9 is the guide that leads us through that process, showing us that every farewell is actually a welcome to what is to come. Chapter 18. Vibration in Time. How Numbers Define the Past and Future. What is time but a flow of vibrations that passes through us? I have always wondered how what we live in the present is so linked to what has already happened and what has not yet happened. Time often seems like a straight line, a sequence of events that go from one point to another. But over time, I have discovered that it is much more than that. Time vibrates, and in that vibration, numbers play an essential role. Numbers do not just tell us the time, they also whisper secrets of the past and trace paths to the future. Each number has its own vibration in time. They are not mere tools to measure the passage of days or years, but portals that connect what we were with, what we will be. I have felt that connection in moments of my life, moments when a number seemed to repeat itself, as if it were reminding me of something from the past, but also pointing to something that was to come. Numbers define time. They guide us between who we have been and who we are destined to be. How do numbers define the past? The past is not just a memory. It is a vibration that continues to resonate in our present. The numbers that marked our pasts continue to influence who we are today. Every important date, every number that appeared in significant moments, left a mark on our vibration, a mark that we continue to carry with us. Time does not dissolve. It simply changes form. And numbers are the guardians of those moments. I remember when, in a moment of introspection, I realized that certain numbers appeared repeatedly in my life. At first, I didn't pay much attention to them. But then I began to notice that those numbers were linked to important events from my past. It was as if those numbers carried a vibration, a message from the past that still resonated in my present, influencing my decisions and my emotions. The numbers of the past are the keys to our history, and in their vibration, we can find lessons that are still waiting to be understood. How do numbers influence our future? Just as the numbers of the past leave a vibration, numbers also trace the path to our future. Each number that appears in our present is a signal, a frequency that indicates where we are heading. The future is not written, but it is full of vibrations that are already resonating in our lives. The numbers that surround us are guides, signals that show us the paths we can take, the opportunities that are to come. In my life, I have learned to pay attention to the numbers that appear when I am faced with important decisions. The number that vibrates in those moments is like a compass, guiding me to what is aligned with my purpose. I remember one occasion when the number 5 began to appear in everything I did, in times, in documents, in conversations. At first, I took it as a coincidence, but I soon realized that the number 5, the number of change, was announcing an imminent transformation in my life. The numbers that appear in our present show us the vibrations that will define our future. What is the relationship between numbers and the present? The present is the meeting point between the past and the future, and in it, numbers vibrate with a unique intensity. Each number that appears at this moment is a connection between who we were and who we will be. It is in the present where the vibrations of time meet, where we can feel the energy of the past and the possibility of the future. The numbers that surround us at this moment are doors, portals that allow us to see beyond what seems obvious. I have discovered that paying attention to the numbers in the present helps me better understand my path. Each number that appears carries a message, a vibration that connects me with my history, but also with my destiny. The present is where we can influence those vibrations, where we can make conscious decisions that align our future with our true essence. The numbers are the guardians of that flow, showing us at every moment the energy we are manifesting. How can we use numbers to navigate in time? To work with numbers and their vibrations in time, we must learn to listen to them, to feel their energy. The numbers that appear repeatedly in our lives are not a coincidence. They are messages from the universe, vibrations that invite us to reflect on our past, to make conscious decisions in the present, and to create a future aligned with our purpose. Numbers do not just count time. They define it, they shape it, and they guide us toward what we are destined to live. I have learned to use numbers as tools for introspection and vision. When a number appears frequently, I stop to ask myself, what is this number trying to tell me? What energy does it bring? With it, if it is a number linked to a memory, I look at it with gratitude, looking for the lessons I have not yet integrated. If it is a number I do not recognize, I take it as a sign of what is to come, a vibration that prepares me for what is about to manifest. Time is a dance, and numbers are the music that guides us. What role do numbers play in our spiritual evolution? Numbers are more than mathematical tools. They are sacred codes that connect us with the vibration of the universe. Throughout our lives, numbers guide us, not only in the mundane but in our spiritual growth. Each number that appears on our path is a vibration that invites us to awaken, to remember who we are and where we are heading. The past, the present, and the future are connected through numbers, and when we learn to work with them, we begin to live more consciously, more aligned with our spiritual purpose. I remember a stage in my life when the number 7 began to appear with insistence. At that moment, I didn't understand its meaning, but I felt that it was linked to something deeper, to a spiritual call that I couldn't ignore. The 7, as a number of introspection and inner wisdom, invited me to pause, to look inside myself, and to reconnect with my essence. Numbers are spiritual guides, vibrations that push us to our evolution if we are willing to listen to their message. Numbers define time, and their vibration connects us with what we have been, with what we are, and with what we will be. They are not just measuring tools. They are portals of energy that guide us on our journey through life. Each number carries a unique vibration, a vibration that connects the past with the future, that defines the present, and shows us the path to our destiny. And in that vibration, we find the magic of life, the dance of time that always leads us forward. Time is a continuous vibration, and numbers are the key to understanding it, to navigating it, to living it with fullness. Chapter 19. The return of souls, reincarnation and karma in human evolution. What happens when our life ends? That question has always lived in my heart, like a deep echo in the soul. Do we really disappear? Or is it just the beginning of another journey? Life, with all its joys, its pains, and its lessons, seems too immense for everything to end in a single sigh. Reincarnation spoke to me in dreams, in moments of introspection in which I felt that, in some way, I had already been here before. And then I understood that the soul does not die. It simply returns. It returns to continue learning, to continue growing, to continue evolving. The return of souls is the eternal cycle of life, a continuous journey in which we learn, grow, and heal. Each life is a new opportunity, a new page in the eternal book of our existence. Reincarnation is not just an abstract idea. It is a sacred dance between the soul and the universe, a cycle of interconnected lives that guides us toward our spiritual evolution. What is reincarnation really? Reincarnation is the return of the soul, the journey we undertake again and again, in different bodies, in different times, but with the same purpose: to evolve, to learn, to transcend. We are not just the body we inhabit in this life. We are a soul that has traveled through many existences, each of them bringing with it lessons that we needed to learn. Reincarnation teaches us that life is not an accident. It is a process, a series of experiences that shape our being and bring us closer to the deepest understanding of our essence. I remember the first moment I felt that my current life was not the only one I had lived. It was a strange feeling, as if some experiences, some encounters, had already happened before. In that instant, I understood that souls do not just return to learn, but also to heal. Each life is a reflection of previous lives, and what we do not heal in one, we find again in the next. Reincarnation is not a repetition. It is an evolution. How does karma influence this cycle of reincarnation? Karma is the energy that we accumulate in each life, an energy that carries with it our actions, our intentions, our decisions. It is not a punishment or a reward. It is simply the law of cause and effect. Every action we take has a reverberation, and those reverberations follow us not only in this life, but in those to come. Karma is the silent teacher that reminds us that everything we do creates a footprint that influences our future path. In my own moments of reflection, I have realized how certain situations seem to repeat themselves in my life. Patterns that don't end, relationships that return, lessons that appear again and again. It was then that I understood that karma is an invitation to consciousness. It is not about punishment or suffering, but about an opportunity to grow, to make peace with the past, and to create a future more aligned with our true nature. Karma reminds us that we are responsible for our own destiny and that every choice we make today influences the lives we will live tomorrow. Why do we reincarnate again and again? We reincarnate because the soul needs to learn. It needs to grow. It needs to evolve toward its maximum expression. Each life is a step in that process, an opportunity to experience different aspects of existence. We sometimes wonder why this life seems so difficult, and the answer is that each life offers us exactly the lessons we need, even if we don't always understand them at the time. The difficulties, the challenges, the joys. Everything is aligned with what our soul needs to move forward. I have often felt the weight of life, that feeling that some burdens are too much. But then I remembered that the soul chooses its path, not from suffering, but from the desire to learn and grow. Each life is a gift, even when it seems wrapped in pain. We reincarnate not only to experience the good, but to transcend what limits us, to heal what we have not yet understood, and to elevate our consciousness to higher levels of love and compassion. How can we live with awareness of this cycle of reincarnation and karma? Living with the awareness that we are eternal souls on a continuous journey invites us to change our perspective on life. Every action, every thought, every word we emit has an impact, not only on this life, but on future ones. When we live with this awareness, we begin to make decisions more aligned with our spiritual evolution. We no longer react from fear or the ego, but from the understanding that everything we do is part of a greater cycle, a cycle that continues far beyond this incarnation. I have learned that living consciously means being present in every moment, not from a place of perfection, but from the intention of being more authentic, more loving, more compassionate. Karma and reincarnation teach us that time does not end with this life, and that each day is an opportunity to heal the past and create a brighter future. Living with this awareness frees us from the prisons of fear and opens us to the possibility of endless growth. What happens when we finally learn all the lessons? When the soul has traveled enough lives, when it has learned the necessary lessons and healed its wounds, a moment of transcendence arrives. The cycle of reincarnation is completed, and the soul no longer needs to return to a physical body. This does not mean that we disappear, but that we merge with universal consciousness, with the infinite love that encompasses everything. It is a return home to the pure state of being where there is no separation, no duality, only the fullness of the spirit. Although that final state may seem distant, each life brings us a little closer to it. Every act of love, every moment of consciousness brings us closer to that unity. The return of souls is not a punishment. It is a gift, a sacred process in which we have the opportunity to experience life from all its angles until we finally remember that we have always been part of the divine. The return of souls is the eternal dance of life. It is the sacred cycle in which we experience, learn, heal, and start over. Karma and reincarnation are our guides on this journey, showing us that each life is an opportunity to grow, to transcend, to get closer and closer to our divine essence. Each life is a reflection of those that came before and a preparation for those that will come after. And in that process, we discover that we are more than this life, more than this body. We are eternal souls on an infinite journey to the light. Chapter 20. The Mystery of the Digits. From Unity to Cosmic Totality. How can a simple number contain the universe? Throughout my life, I have felt a special connection with numbers, but it wasn't until I began to explore their meaning more deeply that I understood the magnitude of their mystery. The digits, simple in their appearance, contain the secrets of the cosmos, uniting the micro with the macro, the individual with the universal. Each number is a symbol, a reflection of a deeper truth, a piece of a cosmic puzzle that invites us to discover unity in diversity. The journey of the digits is the journey of the soul, from absolute unity to the infinite expansion of cosmic totality. Each number is a step on that path, a unique vibration that in its simplicity holds the key to the unity of the one to the multiplicity of the nine. The digits show us how everything that exists in the universe is interconnected, how what seems separate is actually an expression of a single source. What does the number 1 represent on this journey? The number 1 is the seed, the beginning, the primordial unity. It is the number that represents the whole in its purest form. Before there is diversity, there is unity, and the 1 is that state of being in which everything is contained within itself. It is the beginning of everything, the origin of the cosmos. When I think of the number 1, I don't see it just as a symbol of loneliness or singularity, but as the essence of the whole. Everything that exists comes from that one, and although in multiplicity we seem to move away from it, in reality, we are always returning to that unity. I remember a moment when, despite feeling surrounded by so many things and people, I was overcome with a deep feeling of unity. As if behind all that diversity I could see the invisible thread that connects everything. In that instant, I understood that the number 1 is not only the beginning but the essence of everything we are. It is the spark that reminds us that although we see the world as fragmented, everything comes from the same source, and to it we always return. How does that unity evolve into multiplicity? As the 1 expands, the journey to multiplicity begins, the unfolding of the cosmos into forms and experiences. The number 2 is the symbol of duality, of the balance between opposites, light and darkness, masculine and feminine, the material and the spiritual. It is the first step toward diversity, but it also teaches us that behind every duality, unity still exists. The 2 is not separation. It is the dance between opposing forces that, in their interaction, create life. I have experienced that duality in my own life, in moments when I felt divided between 2 paths, 2 decisions, 2 emotions. But over time, I learned that the 2 is not a division that takes us away from unity, but a reflection of the complexity of being. In the interaction between opposites, we find the balance that leads us back to the 1, to that primordial unity. What role does cosmic totality play on this journey? Cosmic totality is the end and the beginning of the journey. As we advance through the numbers from unity to multiplicity, we discover that everything that seems separate is actually part of a greater whole. Each digit teaches us something about that journey. The 3 tells us about creation, the manifestation of life from the union of opposites. The 4 reminds us of stability, the foundations on which the universe rests. The 5, freedom, the constant change that drives growth. But when we get to the 9, we find ourselves again with totality. The 9 is the number of closing cycles, the return to unity, but not in the same way we began. We have evolved, we have learned, we have grown. The 9 reminds us that although life seems to be in constant change, everything returns to the origin, to that cosmic unity that has always been present. How do numbers affect us in our daily lives? Numbers are not just abstract concepts. They are vibrations that influence everything we live. From the moment we are born, we are surrounded by them. In our dates of birth, in the cycles of nature, in the decisions we make. Each number has a particular energy, and by learning to work with them, we can better understand our path in life. I have noticed in many moments of my life how certain numbers appeared repeatedly. The 3, for example, used to appear when I was in the process of creating something, of manifesting a new stage in my life. The 5 appeared in moments of change, when I knew I was about to face a transformation. Each number brings with it a message, a vibration that connects us with the flow of the universe. From unity to totality, the numbers guide us. They show us the way. How can we integrate the wisdom of the digits into our spiritual life? Integrating the wisdom of numbers means recognizing that we are not separate from the universe, that we are part of a greater whole. Every number we encounter in our lives is a reflection of that whole, a reminder that the journey from unity to cosmic totality is also our own journey. By learning to look beyond the surface of the numbers, we can connect with their vibration and use that energy to grow, to heal, to evolve. I have discovered that by living with an awareness of numbers, my life feels more aligned, more connected with the flow of the universe. It's not about seeing it as something mystical or unattainable, but about feeling the vibration of each number and what it brings with it. Each digit is a door that invites us to discover something deeper about ourselves and about the universe we inhabit. What does the number 9 teach us about totality? The number 9 is the symbol of totality, the end of the cycle, but also the prelude to a new beginning. When we reach the 9, we have traveled the entire path from unity to multiplicity, and we are ready to integrate everything we have learned. The 9 reminds us that everything is cyclical, that life is a continuum of endings and new beginnings, of expansion and return. It is the wisdom of cosmic totality, the understanding that although everything seems separate, everything is part of the same journey. I have felt the energy of the 9 in moments of closure, when something in my life was coming to an end, but also in the moments when I felt that I was about to start something new. The 9 taught me to see endings not as losses, but as opportunities, to integrate everything learned and move toward a new stage, a new manifestation of unity and multiplicity. The digits are much more than numbers. They are symbols of a cosmic journey, a journey that we are all traveling from unity to totality. Each number is a step, each digit a vibration that guides us toward a deeper understanding of who we are and of the universe we inhabit. And on that journey, we discover that unity is not something we must achieve, but something that has always been there, waiting to be remembered. From unity to totality, the digits teach us that although life seems to be divided into fragments, everything is connected. Everything is part of the same whole. Chapter 21. Numerology for Success. Unlocking your hidden potential. Have you ever felt that there is something more within you, something you haven't yet discovered? I have felt it, that whisper in the heart, that told me there was more to explore, more to achieve, but that somehow I didn't know where to start. Numerology showed me that success is not just an external goal, but an internal vibration that we already carry within us. The numbers that surround us are guides. They are mirrors that reflect the hidden potential that we have always carried in the depths of our soul. Numerology is not just a science of numbers. It is a tool that helps us know ourselves better, to understand our strengths, and to discover what we may not have yet recognized in ourselves. Each number has an energy, and when we begin to tune into that energy, we can align ourselves with the success that is destined for us. The hidden potential we carry within us only needs to be discovered and released. How can numerology reveal our potential? Numerology shows us that each of us has a unique purpose, a vibration that resonates with success in its own way. By calculating our personal numbers, we can begin to understand what that vibration is, what energy we need to activate to manifest our true potential. Our names, our dates of birth. Everything is full of codes that reveal clues about who we are and where we are heading. I remember when I first calculated my life path number. The number 8 appeared as my guide, the number of power, ambition, and manifestation in the material world. It was then that I realized that success was not only related to hard work, but to the energy I put into every action. The number 8 taught me that my potential was linked to my ability to take control of my life, to make decisions that were aligned with my deepest purpose. What numbers reveal our path to success? Each number in numerology has its own message, its own vibration of success. The number 1, for example, is the number of leadership, of beginning, of those who are destined to open new paths. The number 2 tells us about cooperation, about success that comes from working in harmony with others, from knowing how to balance relationships. The 3, on the other hand, is the number of creativity, of expression, of success that arises when we allow ourselves to be authentic and creative in everything we do. I have seen how different numbers manifest in the lives of the people around me. I know those who, guided by the number 5, found their success through freedom, exploring different paths, changing direction until they found their true passion. Others with the number 7 have discovered that their success lies in wisdom, in the search for spiritual knowledge, and in delving into higher truths. Each number has its own path, and the key is to discover which one is ours. How can we unlock our potential through numerology? Numerology not only reveals our potential, but also shows us how we can unlock it. By understanding the energies that guide our lives, we can make more conscious decisions, more aligned with who we really are. It's not about changing who we are, but about accepting and enhancing what is already within us. Each number offers us a lesson, a key to activating that success that sometimes seems to be hidden behind doubts or fears. On my own path, I have learned that success is not about reaching a final goal, but about aligning our actions with our essence. When we begin to live according to the vibrations of our numbers, opportunities begin to flow, obstacles become lessons, and success ceases to be an unattainable destination to become a daily process of growth and fulfillment. What happens when we start to live according to our numerical vibration? When we live according to the vibration of our numbers, we begin to feel in tune with the flow of life. We no longer fight against what doesn't seem to fit, but we begin to see how everything has a purpose. Every challenge, every success is a part of the journey toward manifesting our highest potential. Numerology teaches us to trust that flow, to recognize that success is not something we should desperately pursue, but something we can attract when we are in harmony with our true energy. I remember a stage when I was trying to force success, pushing with all my might in a direction that deep down I knew didn't resonate with me. It was only when I began to live according to the energy of my numbers, according to my true vibration, that doors began to open. Success was no longer a struggle. It was a natural flow, a manifestation of what had always been waiting to be released. How? Does numerology help us overcome blocks to success? Sometimes what prevents us from achieving success is not a lack of ability, but the internal blocks, fears, and limiting beliefs that we have accumulated throughout our lives. Numerology helps us identify those blocks to see where we are deviating from our true vibration. By understanding our numbers, we can begin to get rid of the limitations that prevent us from manifesting our potential. Success is not something external. It is an internal vibration that we can activate when we free ourselves from what holds us back. I have seen how by working with numbers, we can transform our mindset, change the way we see ourselves and the world. The number that guides our life reminds us that we are more than we believe, that our potential is unlimited, and that success is within our reach when we live from our true essence. What does success mean from the perspective of numerology? Success in numerology is not just material. It is a state of alignment with our purpose, a manifestation of who we are in the depths of our soul. Each number shows us a different path to that success, whether through leadership, creativity, wisdom, or cooperation. Success is unique for each of us, and numerology invites us to discover what it means for us instead of following external definitions. For me, success is feeling at peace with what I do, knowing that I am manifesting my purpose in every step I take. And by working with the energy of my numbers, I have learned that success is not something that happens suddenly, but a continuous process of discovery, growth, and fulfillment. The potential we carry within us has always been there, waiting to be discovered, waiting to be released and manifested in the world. Numerology for success is a door to self-knowledge. It shows us that success is not a fixed destination, but a journey that begins within us. By discovering the vibrations that guide our lives, we can unlock our hidden potential. We can align with the flow of the universe, and we can manifest the success that is destined for us. Success is not something we need to look for outside. It is something that is already inside, waiting to be awakened. Each number is a key that opens the doors of our being and invites us to live from our true essence. And when we do, success ceases to be an unattainable dream to become a palpable reality, a vibration that resonates with everything we are. Chapter 22. The Energy of the Verb. How Words Create. Reality. Have you ever thought about the power your words have? I remember that at some point in my life I didn't give them too much importance. I spoke without thinking much, letting words flow without consciousness, as if they were simple, empty sounds that faded into the air. But I soon discovered that every word carries a vibration, an energy that has the power to create or destroy, to shape our reality. Words are not mere expressions. They are powerful tools that we use, sometimes without realizing it, to give shape to the world around us. The verb is energy in motion. It is the manifestation of our thoughts and emotions in the tangible world. When we speak, we create, and we not only create externally, but also internally. The words we say, whether aloud or silently in our minds, have a direct impact on our reality. Every word is a seed, an intention launched into the universe that begins to germinate and manifest. In our daily lives, how can words create our reality? Words are like waves that expand. When we speak, we send vibrations to the universe, and those vibrations return to us in the form of experiences, opportunities, or challenges. The verb is creative by nature. When we say something, we are manifesting an energy that influences what surrounds us. Every word has a weight, an intention, and that intention has the power to change our perception and our experience of reality. I remember a time in my life when I constantly told myself that I wasn't capable, that I wasn't ready to face certain challenges. And over time, that reality began to manifest. Opportunities seemed to move away, and I found myself more and more trapped in a spiral of doubt. But it was then that I understood that my words were creating that world. Every time I repeated those phrases, I was programming my mind for failure. The words we use are decrees, and those decrees can elevate us or limit us. What happens when we speak with intention? Speaking with intention is using the verb with awareness. It means realizing that every word we pronounce has a purpose, an energy that can be directed toward the creation of something positive. When we begin to speak with intention, our words cease to be automatic and become tools to manifest the reality we desire. Words, when used with purpose, have the power to change our lives in profound ways. I have experienced the difference between speaking from unconsciousness and speaking with intention. When I began to choose my words carefully, I noticed how my reality began to change. I no longer said, "I can't," or "this is impossible." I started saying, "I am learning, I am in the process." And it was as if the universe responded to that new vibration. Speaking with intention means creating from the heart, knowing that every word is an opportunity to manifest a reality more aligned with what we truly desire. How can we use words to heal? Words not only create our external reality, they also have the power to heal our inner selves. Many times, the deepest wounds do not come from actions, but from words spoken without care, either by others or by ourselves. Words can hurt, but they can also heal. By using the verb with love and compassion, we can transform our own wounds and those of those around us. I remember a moment during a difficult conversation when, instead of reacting with anger or frustration, I chose to speak from a place of understanding and love. The words I chose completely changed the energy of the situation. Where there was tension before, peace began to emerge. The verb has the power to heal when used with awareness. By speaking from the heart, we not only heal our relationships, but also our own soul. What is the impact of words on our subconscious mind? The subconscious mind is like a sponge. It absorbs everything we say, even what we say without thinking. The words we repeat over and over become beliefs, and those beliefs shape our reality. If we constantly tell ourselves that we are not enough, that we do not have what it takes to achieve our goals, the subconscious mind takes it as a truth and acts accordingly. Our words create internal programs, and those programs are what then guide our actions and decisions. In my life, I realized that many of the beliefs I had about myself did not come from reality, but from the words I had told myself for years. I changed those words. I began to talk to myself with more love, with more respect, and little by little my subconscious mind began to reprogram itself. Words have the power to rewrite our history, to change the patterns that have limited us, and to open us to new possibilities. How can we transform our life using the power of the verb? To transform our life through words, we must start by speaking with love and awareness. Every time we utter a word, we must ask ourselves, is this word creating what I want in my life? If the answer is no, then we must change it. Words have the power to open doors, to create new opportunities, to attract abundance and success. When we speak from the heart, with the intention of creating the best for ourselves and for others, the universe responds in the same way. I have seen how my life has changed since I started choosing my words more carefully. It was not an immediate change, but little by little, the words I chose began to transform my reality. I began to talk about possibilities instead of limitations, about love instead of fear. And the world around me began to reflect that new vibration. The verb is our most powerful tool, and when we use it with wisdom, we can create a reality full of light, love, and success. How can we align our words with our dreams and desires? Aligning our words with our dreams means speaking as if we were already living the reality we want. It is not about lying to ourselves, but about creating a vibrational space in which our desires can manifest. If we want abundance, our words must reflect that abundance. If we want love, our words must be full of love. The universe responds to the vibration of our words, and when those words are aligned with our dreams, we begin to attract what we want. I remember when I started practicing this principle. At first, it seemed strange, as if I was pretending. But over time, I noticed that the words I used began to change my energy. The words we choose are an invitation to the universe. If we invite from trust, from gratitude, from love, the universe responds with that same energy. Our words are the blueprints of the reality we want to build. Words create. Each of them is a seed we plant in the fertile ground of the universe, and what we say, whether aloud or in silence, begins to germinate and shape our lives. The verb is our most powerful tool, and when we use it with awareness, we can create the reality we want, heal our wounds, and manifest our highest potential. Words have life. Every time we speak, we are shaping the world around us, and in doing so, we also transform ourselves. The energy of the verb is the energy of creation, and when we use it with love, compassion, and intention, we create a world more aligned with our true essence. Chapter 23. The Mirror of the Soul. Your name as a reflection of your true essence. Have you ever stopped to contemplate the meaning of your own name? I remember that for a long time I thought my name was just a label, something that was given to me at birth without much more to it. But over time I discovered that a name is a reflection of something much deeper, a vibration that connects with our truest essence. The name is a mirror of the soul, a manifestation of who we are, of our mission in this life, of the energy we bring to the world. Each name carries a story, an energy, a truth. Throughout the centuries, names have been used not only to identify, but to describe the soul of a person, to capture their essence in a single sound. And so every time we hear our name, it's as if we are hearing an echo of who we really are. A name is not just what others use to call us. It is what the universe uses to remind us of our purpose, our reason for being. How can a name reflect our essence? A name is not simply a combination of letters. It is a vibration, an energy, and each vibration carries with it a meaning, a resonance, that influences how we see ourselves and how the world perceives us. The name we carry is an expression of our essence, a way of connecting with our deepest identity. It is a reflection of who we are, but also of who we are destined to be. I have felt on my own path how the name I carry has resonated in the most important moments of my life. Sometimes, when someone pronounced it, I felt that a part of me awakened, as if those letters carried a force that I didn't always fully understand, but that I knew was part of me. Each name has a story, and that story is intertwined with our soul, with the lessons we have come to learn, and with the gifts we have come to share with the world. How does the energy of our name affect us? The energy of a name is like a melody that plays in the background of our life. Even if we don't always notice it, it is present, influencing our decisions, our perception of the world, how we relate to others. Every time someone pronounces our name, that energy is activated, and it's as if the universe reminds us of our purpose. A name is not just a word, it is a door to our deepest essence. I remember moments when my name resonated in a special way in situations of challenge or uncertainty. When I heard my name pronounced with affection or firmness, it was as if something inside me aligned. The name is an anchor, a way of reconnecting with who we are even when we feel lost. The energy of our name reminds us who we are in the moments, when we need it most. Is it possible that our name influences our destiny? Yes, the name has a powerful role in the destiny we create. It is not that the name completely determines our life, but its vibration can influence how we move through the world, the opportunities we attract, the people who come into our lives. The name we carry is a reflection of our potential, a vibration that resonates with certain energies and challenges that we are destined to face. Destiny is not a fixed path, but our name can be a compass that guides us. In my own experience, I have seen how the deep meaning of my name has manifested in the most important stages of my life. I have noticed patterns, repetitions, as if my name were weaving a story on my path. Every time I faced an obstacle or an opportunity, I could feel the resonance of my name, like a whisper that told me that everything I was living was part of a greater design. The name is a key that connects us with the energies that we are destined to experience. What happens when we begin to honor our name? To honor our name is to honor our essence. When we recognize the power that is in our name, when we understand that it is more than a simple sound, we begin to live in tune with our true self. Sometimes, we spend a large part of our lives disconnected from our own energy. But when we begin to honor our name, to listen to it as a call to our soul, everything changes. We begin to walk with more certainty, to feel more at home with ourselves. I have learned that when we begin to pronounce our name with love and respect, we give life to our essence. The name is a constant reminder of our power, of our light, and by honoring it, we are recognizing everything we are and everything we can become. Living in tune with our name is a way of aligning with our purpose, of remembering who we are even in the darkest moments. What if we don't feel connected to our name? It is possible that at some point we don't feel connected to the name we carry, that we don't resonate with the energy it seems to transmit. But this does not mean that the name is wrong, but that perhaps we have not fully explored its depth. The name is like a mirror, and sometimes what we see in that mirror may not coincide with what we believe we are. In those moments, it is important to ask ourselves, what part of me am I not seeing? What truth of my name have I not yet discovered? On my own journey, there were moments when I wondered if my name really represented me. But as I delved into its meaning, the history it carried, and the vibrations it contained, I began to understand that my name was a reflection of my soul, even the parts of me that I had not yet discovered. Sometimes the disconnection with our name is an invitation to look more deeply, to discover new layers of our identity. How can we use our name as a tool for self-knowledge? Our name is a door to self-knowledge. Every time we pronounce it, we are activating its energy. And by doing it consciously, we can begin to explore what it really means to us. We can use our name as a mantra, repeating it in moments of reflection, feeling its vibration, connecting with the energy it brings to us. By doing so, we can begin to understand ourselves better, to see what aspects of our life are aligned with our true essence and which ones need to be adjusted. I have found that by repeating my name in silence, I have been able to connect more deeply with my soul. It's as if my name reminds me of the parts of me that I sometimes forget. The name is a reflection of our essence, and by using it with intention, we can begin to discover everything we carry within us, all the potential that we have not yet released. The name is the mirror of the soul. Every time we hear it, every time we pronounce it, we are looking at a part of ourselves that can sometimes be hidden. The name is a reflection of our essence, a vibration that resonates with our deepest self. And when we begin to honor it, to understand it, we can live in greater tune with who we really are. Your name is more than a word. It is a key, a door to your true self. And by walking through that door, you begin to discover the immensity of what you are, the light you carry within, and the purpose that guides you in every step. Chapter 24. The Guardians of Knowledge. Ancestral Wisdom in Names and Numbers. Who are the Guardians of Knowledge? I have always felt that deep knowledge, the kind that resonates in the depths of the soul, is not something we simply discover by chance. It is something that has been bequeathed to us, transmitted through generations, like a distant echo that continues to resonate in every name and every number. The ancients knew this, and in their wisdom, they hid secrets in what, at first glance, seem like simple symbols. Names and numbers are more than combinations of letters or digits. They are keys that open doors to ancestral wisdom, guarded by the invisible guardians of our past. Every name we pronounce, every number we encounter, is a reminder that we are not alone on this journey. There are forces that guide us, ancient wisdom that filters through time, waiting for us to awaken to its power. Names and numbers are the guardians of that wisdom, resonating with truths that the ancients knew and that we, if we listen with our hearts, can remember. How are names and numbers connected to ancestral wisdom? Names and numbers not only connect us with who we are today, they also connect us with who we have been and with the lessons that humanity has learned over time. The ancients knew that both names and numbers carried a sacred vibration. Each of them is like a thread in the tapestry of the universe, a vibration that links us to the stars, to the earth, and to the mysteries of the soul. Numbers and names are universal languages, languages that cross time and space, carrying with them the wisdom of those who walked before us. In many ancient cultures, names were not chosen at random. It was believed that a person's name contained the power of their destiny, the mission that their soul had come to fulfill in this life. The same happened with numbers. Each number had a deep meaning, a vibration that influenced the path of life. The guardians of that knowledge knew that the name and the number not only defined the individual, but also the spiritual legacy they left in the world. What secrets do names and numbers hold? The secrets that names and numbers hold are not obvious at first glance. They are hidden in the vibrations they emanate, in the patterns they follow, in the synchronicity they produce throughout our lives. A name may seem like just a label, but when we begin to understand its energy, we begin to see that it is connected to a greater purpose. A number may seem like just a digit, but in its repetition and in its appearance at key moments, it reveals truths about our soul and our destiny. I have seen how in my life certain numbers and names appear with an insistence that I cannot ignore. Names of places, names of people, numbers that arise when I face important decisions. It is as if the universe speaks through them, sending me coded messages, reminding me that there is more than I can see. Names and numbers are symbols of something much bigger, of a knowledge that has been transmitted through time and that waits to be unveiled. Who are the guardians of this knowledge? The guardians of knowledge are not visible figures. They are not entities that we can easily identify. They are the forces that guard ancestral wisdom, making sure that only those who are ready to receive the knowledge discover it. Every time a name or a number resonates powerfully in our lives, it is as if one of these guardians is tapping us on the shoulder, whispering in our ear, telling us to pay attention. I have felt the presence of these guardians in moments of profound change. When it seemed that chaos dominated my life, but certain names and numbers appeared as lighthouses in the darkness. The guardians do not speak directly, but they use the symbols of the universe, names, numbers, dreams, to guide us, to remind us that wisdom has not been forgotten. It is just waiting to be rediscovered. How can we connect with this ancestral wisdom? To connect with the ancestral wisdom that lies in names and numbers, we must begin by listening, not just with our ears, but with our hearts. Every time a number repeats itself, every time a name seems to resonate in the depths of our being, we must ask ourselves, what is this symbol telling me? What message am I destined to receive? By opening ourselves to the possibility that there is more behind what we see, we begin to tune into that wisdom that has been transmitted through generations. On my own path, I have learned to pay attention to the names that cross my life, people, places, even words that appear in the most unexpected moments. Each of them carries a message, an echo of a greater truth. And the same thing happens with numbers. By observing the numerical patterns that repeat, by reflecting on their meaning, we begin to unlock the lessons that the guardians have hidden for us in those symbols. How can we apply this knowledge in our daily lives? The knowledge contained in names and numbers is not just for contemplation. It is practical. It is alive. It is meant to be applied in our daily lives. Every time a number or a name catches our attention, it is an invitation to act, to reflect, to make decisions more aligned with our essence. The knowledge that names and numbers offer us helps us make decisions with more clarity, to better understand our relationships, to see patterns that we otherwise would have ignored. I have seen how by applying the knowledge of numbers and names in my daily life, I have been able to navigate challenges with more confidence. When a number repeats itself constantly, I take it as a sign from the guardians that I am on the right path or that I need to adjust my course. Names and numbers are not coincidences. They are reminders that there is a deeper knowledge guiding our lives if we are willing to listen. Names and numbers are the guardians of knowledge. They are the carriers of ancestral wisdom, of knowledge that has been transmitted through generations, waiting to be discovered by those who are ready to receive it. Every time a name resonates, every time a number appears, it is an invitation from the guardians to look beyond the obvious, to discover the truths that the universe has hidden in the everyday. To listen to names and numbers is to listen to the language of the soul, the language of the guardians who guide us on our path to self-knowledge and spiritual evolution. And when we finally open our hearts to that language, we discover that wisdom is not in the past, but here, present in every moment, waiting to be revealed. Chapter 25. The Path of the Soul. Numbers as spiritual guides. How does the soul find its way in such a vast universe? That question has been with me forever, like a whisper in the depths of my being. The soul is eternal, infinite, but often in the midst of everyday life, it seems to get lost in the labyrinths of time and space. However, I have discovered that there are silent guides, always present, that help us find our way back to ourselves. Numbers. Numbers are more than mere digits. They are messages from the universe, spiritual signals that illuminate our path when we need it most. The soul does not walk alone. Throughout its journey, it encounters symbols that guide it, and among those symbols, numbers are the most powerful. Each number has a unique vibration, a message that reminds us who we are and where we are heading. Sometimes the soul feels lost, disoriented, but when it begins to see the repetition of certain numbers, it's as if the universe is speaking to it, showing it that it has never been alone, that it has always had a guide. How do numbers act as spiritual guides? Numbers are like lighthouses in the darkness. Every time they appear in our lives, they are indicating something to us. They are offering us a direction, a deeper understanding of our path. They are not coincidences. They are divine signals. reminders that there is a greater purpose behind every experience. Numbers speak to us through patterns, repetitions that, when we notice them, invite us to pay attention. I remember moments when certain numbers appeared repeatedly in my life. At first, I ignored them, thinking they meant nothing. But as I began to pay attention to them, to notice when and where they appeared, I began to understand that those numbers were guides, subtle messages from the universe that showed me the way. Numbers act as mirrors of the soul, reflecting our needs, our doubts, and the answers we are looking for. What is the meaning of numbers on the spiritual journey? Each number carries a unique spiritual vibration, a lesson that the soul needs to learn on its path to evolution. The number 1, for example, tells us about new beginnings, about making brave decisions and walking with confidence into the unknown. The number 2, on the other hand, reminds us of the importance of balance, of duality, of the union between the opposing forces that inhabit us. The number 7 is the vibration of introspection, of the spiritual search, of the necessary retreat to reconnect with the divine. I have noticed that when a number appears frequently, it is indicating a lesson that I must learn. The number 4, for example, has appeared in my life in moments when I needed to remember the importance of stability, of building a solid foundation before moving forward. Each number is a teacher, a spiritual guide that reminds us what stage of the journey we are on and what the next lesson we must integrate is. How can we use numbers to navigate the path of the soul? To use numbers as spiritual guides, we must first learn to listen to them, not with our ears, but with our hearts. Every time a number appears in our life, we must ask ourselves, what is this number trying to tell me? What spiritual message does it carry with it? By opening ourselves to the possibility that numbers are more than simple digits, we begin to see them as companions on our spiritual journey. On my own path, I have learned to pay attention to the numbers that repeat, to those that appear at key moments. When I encounter the number 11, I know it is a call to awaken, to pay attention to my intuition, to the most subtle signals of the universe. When the number 9 is present, I know that something is coming to an end, that a cycle is closing, and that I must be prepared for a new beginning. Numbers are like maps, guides that show us the way when we feel lost. What happens when we follow the numerical signals? When we begin to follow the signals that numbers send us, we begin to live in greater alignment with our spiritual essence. Numbers guide us to more conscious decisions. They help us avoid paths that are not aligned with our purpose and invite us to walk with more confidence. It is as if the universe begins to speak to us more clearly, showing us that everything we live has a greater purpose. I have experienced in my own life how, by following the signals of numbers, I have been able to make decisions with more certainty, decisions that seemed risky or incomprehensible to others, but that were aligned with my soul. Numbers do not tell us what to do, but they guide us toward the understanding of what is right for us at that moment. When we follow their signals, the path becomes clearer, more illuminated. How can we connect more deeply with numbers as spiritual guides? Connecting with numbers as spiritual guides requires an open heart, a willingness to see beyond the obvious. Every time a number appears, we must take a moment to reflect, to feel what message it carries. We can meditate on numbers, ask them to reveal their meaning to us, and listen to the answers that arise from our inner selves. Numbers not only act externally, they are also a way of reconnecting with our inner wisdom. I have found that by keeping a record of the numbers that appear in my life, I have been able to notice patterns that I did not see before. Numbers that appear in moments of transformation, in important decisions, in significant encounters. It is as if the numbers remind me that I am not walking alone, that there is always a spiritual guide available, waiting to be heard. What do numbers teach us about the purpose of the soul? Numbers teach us that the purpose of the soul is not linear. It is not a fixed destination, but a continuous journey of learning and growth. Each number we find on the path shows us a lesson that we must integrate, an aspect of our life that needs to be illuminated. The number 5, for example, tells us about change, about the need to adapt and embrace the new. The number 8 reminds us of the power of manifestation, of using our energy to create a life aligned with our essence. I have learned that each number is a piece of the puzzle that is our life's purpose. We do not always understand its meaning immediately, but when we begin to observe with attention, we see how the numbers guide us toward a deeper understanding of who we are and what we are destined to do in this life. The soul has a purpose, and numbers are the messengers that help us discover it. The path of the soul is full of signals, and among those signals, numbers act as spiritual guides, showing us the way when we feel lost, reminding us that we are never alone on our journey. Each number is a message, a vibration that resonates with our soul and invites us to pay attention, to learn, to grow. Numbers are more than digits. They are silent companions on our spiritual path, always present, always willing to guide us to the truth of who we are and to the purpose we have come to manifest in this world. Chapter 26. Changing Destiny. The power of transforming your name and vibration is it possible to change our destiny by changing our vibration? This question has crossed my mind more times than I can count. For a long time, I believed that our destiny was written in stone, as if being born with a name, a life, a circumstance meant being tied to a predetermined path. But I discovered that this is not the case. Destiny is not a fixed destination. It is an energy in motion, a vibration that can be transformed, molded, and renewed. And one of the most powerful ways to change that vibration is through our name. The name is not just a word that identifies us, it is a constant vibration that we emit to the world. But what if that vibration no longer resonates with who we are? What if the name we carry does not reflect our true self? It is in that moment that the possibility arises to change it, to transform it, to choose a new sound, a new frequency that aligns our life with the destiny we want to create. How can a name transform our destiny? A name is not just a set of letters. It is a vibration that we constantly emit and receive. Every time we hear our name, whether it is said by others or by ourselves, we are activating an energy, a vibration that is in constant interaction with our environment and our emotions. When that vibration is aligned with our deepest self, with who we really are and what we want, everything in our life begins to flow differently. I remember when I began to feel that my name did not reflect the person I was becoming. It was as if every time I heard it, I was returning to a version of myself that I had already left behind. It was then that I began to consider the possibility of changing it, of transforming it into something that resonated with the new energy I was cultivating. And what I discovered was incredible. The change of a name can change your vibration, and when your vibration changes, your destiny changes. What happens when we change our name? Changing a name is changing a vibration. It's like tuning an instrument that has been out of tune for a long time. When we consciously choose a new name, we are choosing a new frequency to live by. This does not mean that our essence changes, but it does mean that the way we present ourselves to the world and the way the world responds to us changes profoundly. Changing a name is a symbolic act, but it is also an energetic act. We are declaring to the universe that we are ready for a new chapter, a new vibration, a new life. On my own journey, the name change was not an immediate thing. First, it was a process of introspection, of asking what resonated with me, what I wanted to manifest in my life, what energy I needed to invite. And when I finally chose that new name, everything began to align in a way I had never imagined. Opportunities came, relationships changed, and the destiny that once seemed unattainable began to get closer. Changing a name is a door to a new destiny, How do we choose a name that resonates with our true self? Choosing a new name is not a simple task. It is a profound act of connection with oneself. It is not just about finding something that sounds nice, but about feeling what vibration calls to you, what energy invites you to grow, to transform. The name must be an extension of your soul, a frequency that helps you manifest who you really are and what you want to create in your life. For some, the new name may be a small variation of the current name. For others, it may be a complete reinvention. In my case, I went through several names before finding the one that truly resonated with my soul. It was like trying different melodies, feeling which one played the right chords in my heart. And when I finally found it, it was as if something inside me clicked. The name was more than a sound. It was a vibration that reflected my essence, my purpose, my truth. And by pronouncing it, I felt that every cell in my body aligned with that energy. What if we don't feel connected to our current name? If you don't feel connected to your current name, it is possible that the vibration of that name no longer resonates with your evolution. This doesn't mean there is something wrong with your name. It may just be that you have changed, and the vibration you were emitting when that name was chosen is no longer the same. When this happens, we have two options. We can try to reconnect with the name, looking for new meanings in it, or we can decide to transform it, to choose one that better reflects who we are today. I have known people who, by changing their name, experienced a profound transformation in their lives. It was not just the act of changing the name, but the power they brought with them by doing it. It was a declaration of their new self, an affirmation that they were ready to embrace a new vibration, a new direction in their life. Changing a name is not something superficial. It is an act of self-love, of connection with one's own soul. What impact does a transformed name have on the vibration of our life? A transformed name transforms life. When we change our name, we are activating a new frequency that helps us attract new experiences, new opportunities, and new people. The vibration of the name creates an energetic field around us, and when that field changes, everything that enters our life also changes. The name is like a magnet, and by changing its vibration, we change what we attract to us. I remember how after changing my name, my energy felt lighter, more aligned with my purpose. It was not just an external change, it was a profound change in my interior. I felt more in tune with my truth, more connected to my path. And it was then that I began to see how the destiny that once seemed unattainable began to unfold before me. The power to transform a name is not just in the letters, but in the vibration that those letters emit to the universe. What does it really mean to change destiny? To change destiny is not to erase the past, it is to transform it. It is not to escape from who we have been, but to take what we have learned and use it as fuel to create something new. Destiny is not a fixed line. It is a river that flows. And when we change our vibration, we change the direction of that river. Changing a name is one of the most powerful ways to change vibration, to redirect that river toward a life that is more aligned with our most authentic self. I have learned that destiny is in our hands, that we are not subject to a predetermined path, but that we are the creators of our own reality. And by changing my name, by changing my vibration, I discovered that the power to transform my life had always been within me, waiting to be activated. The name change was just the beginning, the first step toward a destiny that I am now creating, one that reflects my deepest truth. Changing a name is changing a vibration. It is a declaration to the universe that we are ready for a new stage, a new energy, a new life. The name we carry is a constant vibration, and when we feel that it no longer reflects who we are, we have the power to transform it, to choose one that resonates with our essence. Destiny is not a fixed place. It is a path that is transformed with every decision, with every word, with every vibration we emit to the world. And changing a name is one of the most powerful ways to change that destiny, to align with the being we are destined to be. Chapter 27. The Sacred Codes. Deciphering the power of master numbers. What makes some numbers more powerful than others? For a long time, I have felt that certain numbers carry a special vibration, an energy that transcends the everyday. They are the so-called master numbers, those sacred codes that not only guide our path, but connect us with the deepest and most spiritual forces of the universe. The 11, the 22, and the 33, among others, are more than numbers. They are portals of transformation, thresholds to a higher consciousness. Deciphering them is like opening a door to the divine, to that ancestral knowledge that has always been present, waiting to be revealed. Master numbers are mirrors of our higher self. They challenge us, they push us to see beyond the visible, and they remind us that we are here to fulfill a greater purpose. It is no coincidence when these numbers appear in our lives. It is as if the universe were whispering to us, reminding us that there is something more we must discover, something deeper we must embrace. What are master numbers, and why are they so special? Master numbers are elevated vibrations, energies that transcend everyday reality. The number 11, for example, is the number of spiritual illumination, of intuition, and of awakening. The 22, known as the Master Builder, carries with it the ability to manifest dreams in physical reality, to bring the spiritual into the tangible. The number 33, often called the Master Healer, represents universal love, sacrifice for the greater good, and deep connection with the soul. I have felt the presence of these numbers in my life in a subtle but constant way. When the number 11 appears, it is as if an invisible door opens, reminding me that I must listen to my intuition, that I must pay attention to the whispers of the soul. The 22, on the other hand, urges me to create, to build, to manifest my deepest dreams in the material world. Each of these numbers brings with it a lesson, an invitation to live more consciously, more connected with the greater purpose of the soul. How do master numbers act in our daily lives? Although master numbers carry an elevated energy, they are not separate from our daily lives. In fact, their power lies in how they influence our daily decisions, in how they push us to see life with a broader perspective. When the number 11 appears repeatedly, it is a sign that we must be attentive to our visions, to our dreams, because something important is about to be revealed. The number 22 reminds us that we are co-creators of our reality, and that we have the ability to build something great, but only if we do so from a place of inner balance. I remember a time when the number 33 appeared constantly in my life. At first, I didn't understand its meaning, but I soon realized that it was an invitation to open my heart, to be more compassionate, not only with others, but with myself. Master. Numbers act as guides, pointing to key moments when we need to elevate our consciousness and connect with our true essence. They are not here to complicate us, but to remind us that we can always access a higher version of ourselves. What can we learn from master numbers? Master numbers are teachers in themselves. Each of them carries a lesson that, if we are willing to listen, can transform our lives in profound ways. The number 11 teaches us to trust our intuition, to listen to that inner voice that we often ignore. The 22 invites us to dream big, but also to be practical, to take those dreams and turn them into concrete realities. The 33 teaches us the power of unconditional love, of putting our skills and knowledge at the service of others without expecting anything in return. I have learned that master numbers not only challenge us to be better, but also offer us the tools to do so. When the number 11 appears, it is like a reminder that wisdom does not always come from the outside, but from within. The 22 reminds us that dreams without action are nothing more than illusions, but with focus and dedication, we can manifest anything our heart desires. The 33 challenges us to live from a place of unconditional love, to act with compassion, and to be a light for others. What should we do when master numbers appear in our lives? When a master number appears repeatedly, it is a call from the universe to pay attention. It is no coincidence. It is a message that invites us to delve deeper, to ask ourselves, what lesson is this number trying to teach me? Each appearance is an opportunity for growth, an opportunity to elevate our consciousness and connect with our higher self. The number 11 invites us to meditate, to reflect on our spiritual connections. The 22 challenges us to act, to take concrete steps toward our goals. The 33 asks us to open our hearts, to let go of the ego, and to act from a place of love. In my life, when master numbers appear, I always take a moment to stop, breathe, and reflect on their meaning. I have learned that ignoring these signs does not make them disappear. It only postpones the lessons we are destined to learn. Listening to master numbers is listening to the soul. And when we do, we begin to live in greater alignment with our deepest purpose. How can we use the power of master numbers to transform our life? Using the power of master numbers is not just about observing when they appear, but about integrating them into our daily lives. We can meditate on them, reflect on their energy, and ask ourselves how we can apply their lessons in our actions. The number 11 invites us to trust our visions, to follow those gut feelings that guide us towards something bigger. The 22 reminds us that we have the ability to build anything we imagine as long as we have the courage to take action. The 33 challenges us to live from a place of love, to act with compassion, and to be a light for others. I have seen how by integrating master numbers into my life, I have been able to manifest profound changes. It has not been an easy path, but it has been a path full of meaning, growth, and transformation. Master numbers do not tell us what to do, but they show us the potential we carry within. They remind us that we have the ability to transform our reality if we are willing to listen and act from a place of authenticity. Master numbers are sacred codes. They are vibrations that connect us with our higher self, with our purpose, and with the lessons we are here to learn. Each number is a portal, a door to a higher consciousness, and by deciphering them, we discover the power we carry within to transform our lives and our destiny. Numbers do not just count time, they show us the way. And when master numbers appear, it is an invitation to awaken, to live with more intention, to walk with more clarity, and to remember that we are always being guided by a greater force. Chapter 28. The Power of the Number, the Vibration that governs the universe. What power can a number have? Sometimes I find myself thinking about the simplicity of numbers, about how we see them as something so basic, so mundane. But in reality, numbers are the language of the universe, a vibration that governs everything, from the way planets move in their orbits to the beat of our heart. Everything in creation vibrates with a number, with a frequency that, even if we don't always understand it, is there, pulsating in the background of everything. The power of the number is not just its usefulness for counting or measuring, it is its ability to resonate with the very essence of who we are and what surrounds us. Each number carries a unique vibration, and when we begin to understand this, when we open ourselves to the idea that numbers are more than mathematical tools, we begin to see the universe in a completely new way. We are not separate from these vibrations. We are part of them. And when we learn to listen to the language of numbers, we find answers that we may have been looking for elsewhere, without knowing that the key was always in those simple digits. How is it that numbers have power? The power of numbers does not reside only in their value, but in the vibration they emit. Each number has a frequency, a particular energy that influences everything it touches. When we say that the number 1 represents new beginnings, it is not just an abstract concept. It is a real vibration that pushes those who feel it to make brave decisions, to start projects, to embrace the unknown. The number 7, on the other hand, is the vibration of introspection, of the spiritual search, an invitation to look inward and find answers in silence. I have experienced how by paying attention to numbers, I have felt their power in my life. When the number 3 appeared repeatedly, I was in a moment of creativity, of expansion, as if the universe were pushing me to express myself, to share what I carried within. Numbers are like musical notes, and each of them has a unique melody that resonates within us, affecting our decisions, our emotions, and our path. What does it mean that numbers govern the universe? To say that numbers govern the universe is to recognize that everything in creation is in tune with a specific vibration. From the stars that shine in the sky to the rhythm of our breaths, everything follows a pattern, a frequency that can be described in numbers. Think of the Fibonacci sequence, of the golden ratio. These mathematical formulas are not simple coincidences. They are manifestations of the way the universe organizes and expresses itself. I remember the first time I realized this. I was looking at the leaves of a tree, and suddenly I saw how the branches grew following a pattern, a rhythm. It was then that I understood that numbers are not just tools for measuring the world. They are the very essence of how everything is structured. Numbers govern the universe because they are the language through which the universe communicates. They show us that there is an order, a harmony that underlies everything we see and experience. How can we feel the vibration of numbers in our lives? Feeling the vibration of numbers requires an openness, a letting go of the idea that numbers are cold and static. Instead of seeing them as something abstract, we must begin to perceive them as frequencies that interact with us, that affect us in profound ways. The number 8, for example, is a vibration of power and manifestation. When we are in tune with that frequency, we are more likely to feel empowered, to make bold decisions, and to achieve our goals with determination. In my life, I have felt how certain numbers align with specific moments. When the number 9 began to appear frequently, I knew that something was coming to an end, that a cycle was closing, and that I had to prepare for a transition. Numbers speak to us not with words, but with sensations, with intuitions. And when we start to pay attention to those vibrations, we find that everything has a deeper meaning. What happens when we align ourselves with numerical vibrations? When we align ourselves with numerical vibrations, we begin to live in greater harmony with the flow of the universe. Numbers act as guides, showing us what frequency we should tune into to achieve what we want. If we are working on a project that requires stability, tuning into the number 4, the vibration of structure and order, can help us manifest that balance. If we are looking for a radical change, connecting with the number 5, the number of freedom and transformation, can push us toward new directions. I have experienced this alignment firsthand. When I began to pay attention to the vibration of the number 6, which is the number of balance, home, and love, I noticed how my relationships improved, how my environment felt more harmonious. Numbers do not change our reality by themselves, but they show us how we can align ourselves with the energies that are already present in the universe, how we can flow with those vibrations to create a more full and conscious life. How can we use the power of the number to transform our life? Using the power of the number to transform our life involves more than just observing numbers. It means learning to work with their vibrations. We can use numbers to define our intentions, to tune into the energies we need at a given time. If we are looking for clarity, for example, we can meditate on the number 1, which invites us to clear our minds and focus on the present. If we want to attract more abundance, we can connect with the number 8, which vibrates with the energy of prosperity and success. In my own life, I have found that consciously working with numbers has allowed me to make profound changes. When I feel lost or disoriented, I ask myself, What vibration do I need at this moment? And by connecting with the right number, by tuning into its energy, I find the balance, clarity, or motivation I was looking for. Numbers are tools, but they are also powerful allies that can guide us on our path. Numbers govern the universe because they are the heartbeat of the cosmos. Each of them carries a vibration, a frequency that connects everything that exists in a harmonious flow. By understanding their power, we can not only decipher the patterns of the universe, but also align ourselves with them, live in tune with the energies that surround us, and use those vibrations to create a more conscious, more full, more aligned life with our purpose. The power of the number is not in its value, but in the vibration it emits, in the frequency that resonates in our interior and in the universe we inhabit. And when we learn to listen to that vibration, we find that numbers do not just tell stories, they show us how to write our own. Chapter 29. Beyond the Illusion. The Awakening of Cosmic Consciousness. What is there beyond what we see? Since I can remember, I have always wondered if what we perceive with our senses is all that exists. Life seems like a constant play of shadows and lights, where the visible and the tangible trap us in a web of limited beliefs, making us think that what we can touch and see is the only thing that is real. But over time, I discovered that there is something beyond that illusion, a vast universe of possibilities, of consciousness, that waits to be discovered when we decide to awaken. This awakening of cosmic consciousness is like tearing a veil that has been covering our eyes throughout our lives. It is a moment in which the soul realizes that it is not confined to this body, to this mind, or to this earthly life. We are much more than that. We are part of something immense, something eternal, something that transcends the borders of what we believed was possible. What does it mean to awaken to cosmic consciousness? To awaken to cosmic consciousness is to open the eyes of the soul. It is to understand that what we perceive is not all that exists. The illusion of physical reality is only a small fraction of the vast network of energy and consciousness that forms the universe. The awakening is not a sudden event. It is a process, a journey that begins when we start to question what we have taken for granted. It is to look beyond the visible, beyond appearances, and discover the underlying truth that connects all things. I remember the moment I began to awaken. It was as if something inside me that had been asleep for a long time began to stir. I began to see the world with different eyes, as if everything around me had a deeper meaning, a vibration that I had not perceived before. The awakening of cosmic consciousness is not an external revelation, but an internal transformation, a reminder that we have always been part of the whole, even if we have forgotten it. How do we break the veil of illusion? Breaking the veil of illusion is not an easy task. It requires courage because it forces us to question everything we think we know about the world and about ourselves. The illusion is built on our beliefs, on the mental structures that we have, accepted as absolute truth. But when we begin to tear that veil, when we begin to see beyond what we have taken for granted, we realize that everything we believed is based on limited perceptions. I have learned that meditation and introspection are powerful tools for breaking the veil. By quieting the mind, by moving away from the constant noise of the outside world, we begin to hear the soft voice of the universe, the voice that has always been there, waiting to be heard. Breaking the veil is awakening to a new reality, a reality that is not defined by time or space, but by an infinite consciousness that transcends everything we know. What happens when we awaken to cosmic consciousness? When we awaken to cosmic consciousness, we begin to see the world from a completely new perspective. The illusion of separation disappears, and we realize that everything is interconnected, that we are not isolated beings living separate lives, but expressions of a single universal consciousness. This awakening brings with it a feeling of deep peace because we understand that we are part of something much bigger, something that cannot be limited by our earthly experiences. In my own journey, I have experienced moments in which I have felt completely united with everything around me. It is a feeling difficult to describe, as if the barriers between me and the universe dissolved, and what was left was only love, only light. The awakening to cosmic consciousness is like remembering an ancient knowledge that has always been within us, but that we had forgotten in the rush of everyday life. How does the awakening of cosmic consciousness change us? The awakening to cosmic consciousness transforms us radically. It is not just a change in our perspective, it is a change in the way we live, in how we relate to the world and to others. We begin to act from a place of love and compassion, because we understand that what we do to others, we do to ourselves. Cosmic consciousness teaches us that there is no separation, that we are all one, and that our actions, thoughts, and emotions affect the whole. I have seen how this awakening has changed my life in profound ways. I no longer see challenges as obstacles, but as opportunities to grow, to learn, to expand my consciousness. The awakening frees us from fear because we understand that there is nothing to fear when we realize that we are eternal beings connected to an infinite network of love and light. Cosmic consciousness reminds us that we are here to experience, to learn, to remember who we really are. What does the awakening teach us about the purpose of life? The awakening to cosmic consciousness reveals the true purpose of life to us. It teaches us that we are here not just to survive, but to experience, create, and elevate our consciousness. We realize that life is not a series of random events, but a cosmic dance in which every step, every decision, brings us closer to our highest self. The purpose of life is not in the material, but in spiritual growth, in the expansion of our consciousness, and in service to others. When I began to awaken to this truth, I felt a deep sense of peace and clarity. I was no longer looking for answers outside of me because I understood that all the answers were within, in my connection with cosmic consciousness. The purpose of life is not something we find, it is something we remember, something that has always been there, waiting for us to awaken to its truth. How can we live in alignment with cosmic consciousness? Living in alignment with cosmic consciousness is living from a place of love, unity, and compassion. It means recognizing that we are part of a whole and that our actions have an impact not only on our lives, but on the lives of all beings. It is living with the awareness that we are co-creators of our reality and that every thought, every emotion contributes to the creation of our world. I have learned that living in alignment with cosmic consciousness does not mean that we are always in a state of perfection. It means that we are aware of our connection with the whole, and that even if we sometimes stumble, we can always return to that place of peace and inner wisdom. Cosmic consciousness guides us. It reminds us that everything we need to live a full life is already within us. And by awakening to this truth, we begin to live with more purpose, more clarity, and more love. Awakening to cosmic consciousness is tearing the veil of illusion. It is seeing beyond what we have believed to be real and discovering that we are much more than physical bodies living an earthly life. We are pure consciousness, infinite energy, part of a universe that is in constant expansion. And when we awaken to this truth, our life changes, not because the outside world transforms, but because we begin to see it with the eyes of the soul. Cosmic consciousness invites us to remember that we have never been separated from the whole, that we have always been part of the same fabric of energy and light. And by awakening, we discover that the true purpose of life is not to seek outside, but to find within. Chapter 30. The End of Times. The Final Revelation. Through numbers, what does the end of times really mean? I always imagined that the end of times would be something catastrophic, an event that would mark the collapse of everything we know. But over time, I realized that the end is not a collapse, but a revelation. It is not the end of reality, but the end of the illusions that have kept us asleep. And numbers, those ancient and sacred guardians of knowledge, have always been there, showing the way to that final truth, waiting to be deciphered. The end of times is not the end of existence, but the awakening of collective consciousness. Numbers have been present throughout history, guiding civilizations, prophets, and seekers of truth. They are cosmic codes, signals that prepare us to understand what is to come, to see beyond linear time, and to embrace a new reality. It is through numbers that the universe reveals its secrets, and at the end of times, it is when those secrets become clear. How do numbers reveal the end of times? Numbers have always been carriers of a deeper message, and in the context of the end of times, their meaning becomes even more crucial. The number 7, for example, has been considered a symbol of completion, of divine perfection, of cycles that come to a conclusion. The number 9 tells us about a closing, about a time of transformation before the new can emerge. And the number 11, so deeply linked to spiritual awakening, invites us to see what is beyond the visible, to prepare ourselves for what we cannot comprehend with our limited minds. I remember how in certain moments of my life, these numbers appeared with insistence, as if they were preparing me for an inevitable change. At first, I didn't fully understand it, but little by little I began to connect the dots. Numbers act as guides, not to show the end as something we should fear, but as a portal to a new consciousness. The end of times is a revelation, and numbers prepare us to receive it with the eyes of the soul open. What role do numbers play in the final revelation? Numbers have a special power in moments of transition, in times of change. When ancient structures begin to crumble, numbers provide us with a framework to understand what is happening. The number 12, for example, has symbolized for centuries the completion of a cycle, the closing of a chapter in preparation for something new. The number 22, as the master builder, shows us how the end is nothing more than an opportunity to rebuild, to manifest a reality more aligned with universal truth. I have seen how numbers begin to appear in patterns when moments of transformation are approaching. It is as if the universe were talking to us through them, telling us that the end is not the final destination but the prelude to a new beginning. In the final revelation, numbers act as lighthouses, showing us the way to a new way of existence, to a reality more aligned with the purpose of our soul and the universe. What does the end of times mean for our consciousness? The end of times is not just an external event. It is an internal transformation, an awakening of the collective consciousness to a higher truth. Through numbers, we begin to understand that the reality we have known is only an illusion, a dream that we are destined to leave behind. The end of times is the end of limitations, the end of the beliefs that have kept us trapped in a cycle of fear and separation. In my own life, I have experienced small ends of times in moments of great personal transformation. Those moments when everything I thought I knew crumbled, only to give way to a deeper understanding, to a clearer awareness of my place in the universe. The end of times is not the end of life, but the end of the illusion that we are separate from the whole. It is the awakening to our unity, to our eternal connection with everything that exists. How can we prepare for the final revelation? Through numbers? Preparing for the final revelation involves opening ourselves to the signals that numbers offer us. It is learning to read the patterns, to feel the vibrations they emit, to listen to the message they are sending us. When the number 11 appears, frequently, it is a sign that the veil between the visible and the invisible is thinning, that we are being called to awaken. The number 9 invites us to let go, to release what no longer serves us so that we can receive the new that is to come. On my own journey, I have learned to pay attention to these numbers, to reflect on their meaning in moments of change. When the number 7 appears, I know that a cycle is coming to an end, that something is being completed to give way to something new. The final revelation is not something we should fear, but something we can prepare for, trusting that the numbers will guide us toward an understanding of what is really happening. What happens after the end of times? After the end of times, there is no emptiness. There is nothing to fear. What follows is a new reality, a new vibration that invites us to live in a way more aligned with cosmic consciousness. The end of times is only the end of the old, of what no longer resonates with our highest self. And what follows is rebirth, the opportunity to build a new reality based on love, on unity, on truth. I have felt in my moments of personal transformation that what follows after each ending is an expansion, a greater clarity, a deeper connection with my purpose. The numbers show us that the end is not a destination, but a necessary step toward a new way of being. And when we embrace that truth, we stop fearing change, the closing of cycles, because we understand that every ending is actually a new beginning. The end of times is not the end of existence. It is the awakening of a new consciousness. It is the final revelation, the moment when the veils fall and the truth is shown to us in its totality. And through numbers, the universe prepares us, guides us, reminds us that we have always been connected to something much bigger, something eternal. The end is nothing more than the beginning of a new cycle, a new opportunity to live in greater alignment with cosmic truth. Numbers are the codes that guide us, the symbols that show us the way to the final revelation. And when we learn to read them, to listen to them, to feel their vibration, we understand that the end of times is only the beginning of something greater, something that has always been waiting to be discovered. Chapter 31. The Mirror Numbers. The reflection of synchronicity and spiritual awakening. Have you ever looked at a clock and seen a repeated sequence, like 1111 or 2222? These numbers are not simple coincidences. They are messages from the universe, signs that something deeper is happening. Mirror numbers, those that are reflected symmetrically and repeatedly, speak to us in a universal language that connects our material world with the spiritual dimensions. These numbers act as mirrors of our consciousness, reflecting our thoughts, emotions, and the state of our vibration at that moment. It's as if the universe is telling us, pay attention, something is happening. Every time we see repeated numbers, the universe is trying to get our attention. It is sending a direct message that can be a guide on our spiritual path. It is no coincidence when we look at the clock and see 1111 or when we constantly come across 333. These numbers are codes that connect us with a deeper reality, with synchronicities that, if we listen to them, can reveal hidden truths about our present, our future, and our spiritual path. What are mirror numbers and why do we see them? Mirror numbers are symmetrical numerical sequences that appear repeatedly in our daily lives. The most common include sequences like 1111, 2222, 1212, or 555. These sequences are not just numbers, they are reflections of our inner energy, a way in which the universe sends us signals that we are in a moment of alignment, of awakening, or of profound change. Each number has its own meaning, and when we see it repeated, that vibration is amplified. Seeing mirror numbers is a wake-up call. They invite us to stop and observe the state of our thoughts, emotions, and decisions at that moment. When mirror numbers appear, it is because we are at a vibration that is in resonance with the universe, a sign that our actions and thoughts are aligned with something greater, something that goes beyond the visible. Mirror numbers are an invitation to reflect, to pay attention to what we are manifesting at that moment in our lives. The meaning of mirror numbers of Evet 11, spiritual awakening and manifestation. 1111 is one of the most powerful and common mirror numbers. When we see it, it is a reminder that we are in a process of spiritual awakening. It is a call to connect with our intuition, to trust the path we are taking. It is a number of manifestation, a sign that our intentions and desires are aligned with the flow of the universe. Seeing 1111 is an invitation to act with clarity, to be conscious of the thoughts we have at that moment, since they are the ones we are bringing into our reality. T2. Alignment and balance. The number 22.22 speaks to us of balance and harmony. It is a sign that we are aligning our desires and actions with the greater purpose of our life. The 22 is known as the Master Builder, and when it appears repeated, it is a reminder that we have the ability to build something great, but only if we do it from a place of inner balance. Seeing 2222 is a message from the universe that tells us to move forward, to trust in our abilities, and that what we are creating at this moment is aligned with our highest purpose. 3. Compassion and spiritual mastery. The 33 is a number of high spiritual vibration. When we see it repeated as 3333, it is a reminder that our life should be aligned with service to others, with compassion and universal love. It is a call to spiritual mastery, to elevate our vibration and share our light with those around us. Seeing 3333 is an invitation to open our hearts, to act from a place of love, and to remember that our purpose is connected to the healing and growth of others. 44. Protection and solid foundations. When the number 4444 appears, it is a sign that we are being protected. It is a reminder that we are not alone, that the forces of the universe are by our side, guiding us and protecting us on our path. The number 44 also speaks to us of the importance of building solid foundations, of making sure that we are establishing firm structures in our life. Seeing 4444 is a sign that our decisions are being supported by the universe and that we can move forward with confidence in what we are creating. 55. Change and transformation. 5555 is the number of change and freedom. When it appears, it is a sign that great transformations are coming into our lives. It is an invitation to let go of what no longer serves us, to embrace the new with courage. Seeing 5555 is a message from the universe that tells us to be prepared for change, to let go of fear, and to trust that what is coming is for our growth and evolution. It is a sign that we are in a moment of transition and that we should flow with the energies of change. What do synchronicities mean, and how do they relate to mirror numbers? Synchronicities are those moments when everything seems to align perfectly. They are coincidences that are not mere chances but have a deeper meaning. When we see mirror numbers, we are experiencing a synchronicity. It is the universe speaking to us through a language that transcends words, connecting us with the present moment and with our vibration at that instant. Synchronicities are manifested in our lives when we are in alignment with our purpose, when our actions, thoughts, and emotions are flowing with the universe. Mirror numbers are one of the most common ways that these synchronicities are expressed because they are easy to recognize and have an immediate impact on our consciousness. Every time we see a mirror number, we are in a moment of connection with the flow of the universe, and we must take advantage of that moment to reflect, meditate, and be present. What should we do when we see mirror numbers repeatedly? When mirror numbers appear repeatedly in our lives, it is important to stop and pay attention. It is a sign that we are at a turning point, that something significant is happening on an energetic and spiritual level. The first thing we should do is reflect on our thoughts at that moment. What were we thinking just before seeing the number? What emotions were we feeling? Mirror numbers invite us to be conscious. They remind us that our intentions have power and that what we think and feel at that moment is manifesting. It is an invitation to align ourselves with what we truly want to create. Upon seeing a mirror number, we can take a moment to meditate, to connect with our intuition, and to ask for clarity about the message that the universe is sending us. The Power of mirror numbers in numerology and personal growth. In numerology, mirror numbers have a profound impact on our spiritual evolution. They remind us that we are not disconnected from the universe, but are part of a larger network of energy and consciousness. Each mirror number we see is an opportunity to grow, to align ourselves more deeply with our purpose, and to understand the forces that are at work in our lives. Mirror numbers also teach us about the power of the present. They invite us to be attentive to what is happening in the here and now, because it is in the present where the synchronicities that will define our future are being woven. When we see a mirror number, we are at a point of connection with the universe, a point where our actions and decisions can have a deeper impact on our lives. Mirror numbers are reflections of our consciousness. They speak to us in a language of vibration, of energy, of synchronicity. They remind us that we are connected, that the universe is constantly sending us signals, and that if we pay attention, we can receive guidance, clarity, and direction. Each mirror number that appears in our life is an opportunity to awaken, to align ourselves with our purpose, and to manifest our intentions with more clarity and power. Numbers don't just count time, they show us the way. They guide us toward the awakening of our consciousness and toward the realization of our true self. Epilogue. The journey of numbers and consciousness, an eternal awakening upon reaching the end of this journey. It is impossible not to feel a deep connection with the mysteries revealed throughout these pages. This is not just a book about numbers, but an invitation to discover the language of the universe, a sacred code that has always been around us, waiting to be deciphered. Each number, each vibration, each synchronicity is a door to a broader reality, a reality in which the spiritual and the material intertwine in perfect harmony. Numbers do not just count. Numbers speak. They whisper to us in moments of confusion. They illuminate us in times of darkness, and they guide us when we feel lost. This book is not just a compendium of concepts. It is a mirror that reflects the infinite possibilities that are within our reach when we open ourselves to listen to the language of the cosmos. Numbers, those seemingly simple symbols that we use daily, are carriers of an ancestral wisdom that invites us to awaken, to align ourselves with the deepest truth of who we are. We have walked together through the sacred codes, unraveling the meaning of master numbers, mirror numbers, and the vibrations that connect us with the whole. We have explored how the universe uses numbers to communicate, to remind us that we are not alone, that there is a divine plan, a perfect structure that sustains the visible and invisible reality. Each chapter has been a piece of that cosmic puzzle, a reminder that life is much more than what we can see or touch. Throughout this book, we have discovered that numbers are more than mathematical tools. They are living vibrations, energies, that connect us with the cycles of time, with the past and the future, with our divine essence and our purpose in this world. We have learned that the end of times is not something we should fear, but a revelation, an awakening to a new consciousness, where numbers play a crucial role as guides and messengers. But this book is not the end, because the awakening is a continuous process. Every number, every synchronicity, every lesson learned pushes us toward new dimensions of growth and understanding. Cosmic consciousness, that state we all aspire to, is not a destination, but an endless journey where every step brings us closer to the truth of who we are and the purpose we have come to fulfill. At the heart of all this, numbers remind us that the universe is perfect in its design, that each of us has a role to play, a unique vibration to contribute. We are part of a cosmic fabric, and numbers are the threads that intertwine our experiences, our emotions, our desires, and our actions into a unified whole. They teach us that every moment is full of meaning, and that by paying attention to the messages they send us, we can live a more full, more conscious, more aligned life with our divine essence. As you close these pages, I want you to carry the certainty that numbers will always be there to guide you. In moments of doubt, in important decisions, in unexpected changes, Numbers will act as lighthouses in the darkness, illuminating the path to truth. Each number, each sequence, each synchronicity is a reminder that we are not disconnected, that there is always a greater plan, and that the universe conspires in our favor when we align ourselves with its vibration. This is not the end of a book. It is the beginning of a new way of seeing life, of listening to the hidden language of the universe, and of embracing the power we carry within. Numbers are the bridge between the visible and the invisible, between what we think we know and what is waiting to be discovered. May this book be a companion on your own journey, a constant reminder that the universe is always talking, always sending signals, and always guiding you toward your deepest awakening. The journey through numbers and consciousness is eternal, and at the end of each cycle, at the end of each number, we find ourselves again at the beginning, ready to discover a new truth, a new vibration, a new level of consciousness. May the numbers always guide you, and may this awakening be only the beginning of an infinite journey toward the stars.